Welcome back, everybody. This is the Sundaze Brunch Podcast. We are in episode 6. It's a little bit different this week. Bobby had a prior obligation, but we are here with the day one homie Tyler, aka DJ T-Rex.
Back out of retirement. That's what I'm here for.
Back out of retirement. First time on the scene, newly a parent. We're just doing this adulting thing.
Just barely. We're getting through it, but we're making it happen to some degree. I wouldn't say we're doing it well.
We're doing it. We're trial and error in it. How's the dad life been? How's that transition been for you?
Oh, dude, it has its days, it has its good days and its bad days. There's nothing better than waking up and seeing my kid. Right before I came into work, my kid woke up very quietly around 6 a.m. this morning, and it was really awesome to go in and pick him up and have him smile at me before I go to work and just seeing how happy he is. And then there's the other moments where it's 7 o'clock at night and your kid has only had a half hour of sleep all day, so he's the crankiest he's been in weeks, and you're like, I can't believe I'm dealing with this right now. But like everything, it has its ups and downs. You just got to make the best out of everything and do the best you can.
Such is life, right?
Yes, sir.
Walking in middle of the night when he's crying, shit up his back or something,
I have been very fortunate so far where I haven't had to deal with any of those like major blowouts in diapers, thank God. But I'm sure my day is coming soon.
I was just gonna say, from what I'm not a parent, but as far as I hear, that's a nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Any which way you look at it, I can see us being somewhere in a very public setting and not having a change of clothes for him, and him blowing out his diaper and being shit everywhere and not knowing what the hell to do about it. So I'm
instantly yak.
Yeah.
Instantly yak.
Yeah. I thought I would too. I thought I was the type of guy that was never going to be able to change diapers. Like my niece, when I had to change her diaper a couple of years ago, we were on vacation together. It was really rough for me. I think there's something that everything just changes a little bit when it's your kid, though. I don't know if that's true, but that maybe I thought I would be much worse with it, but I get along okay. Also, I have my wife to lean on for the bad ones, so sorry, honey.
But it's still a thriving moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the podcast, as you know, if you guys have been tuned in, we bring a drink of choice, and we again skip the food because I myself came down with an illness this week, so food is just not a good thing for me. But when you go do brunch, you can't skip out on the booze. We've had the mimosas, the beer mosas, the mixies. This week, I brought Dewar's White Label Irish Scotch. What did you bring for us, Ty?
I'm a bourbon guy, so I have 1792, their small batch that they put out for their bourbon. This is probably my go-to for any drink in general. For the price and for the quality of the bourbon, it's about as good as it gets.
That sounds pretty good. What you mixing it with? Are you mixing it, or are you just going straight?
No, I drink bourbon neat, man. That's all it is for me.
Yeah,
I know it's generally for the general public. It's not kosher to just drink straight liquor during brunch, but this is kind of what happens when you're an alcoholic, unfortunately.
I respect it. If I had sugar cubes, I would be drinking like a old fashioned, but I don't. Yeah. So it's whiskey and orange juice.
It's so hard to make a good old fashioned. That really is a lost art form of making cocktails. Like I understand that, everybody and their brother can quote unquote make an old fashioned at
but
the
it
bar.
Ain't the same all the time.
It's not the same, man. It's not the same. You go to a real cocktail bar and have them make you an old fashioned. It doesn't get much better.
And if you do it right, you're buzzed off of 3.
Oh yeah, 3, 2. The 2 if you get the doubles.
I don't ever get the doubles, but I can't drink like you.
Touche.
Before we fully dive into it, I just have one thing to fucking complain about today. Have you ever noticed when you go to a gas station and you're getting ready to pump your gas and the fucking pump asks you 49 questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you a rewards member? Are you going to pay for a car wash too? Are you playing with credit or debit? Are you doing this? What's your birthday? What's your social security number? What'd you have for dinner last night?
Literally, what do you jack off to? Like, bro, and I swear half the time they ask me for a car wash, and these motherfuckers don't even have car washes.
Yeah, right. Like it's like just the general whatever the hell they have programmed in, thinking that every gas station must have this, so we're gonna ask for it anyway. That
Literally,
is, it's such a pain in the ass.
on my way back from the liquor run,
Mm-hmm.
I stopped at the gas station. This thing asked me for a car wash. I looked around because I was like pissed off, but not actually pissed off, but like that annoyed pissed off where you're just like, why?
Sure.
And I looked around. There's no fucking car wash, bro.
Yeah, no car wash. They're still gonna ask you for it anyway because they're gonna want you to pay for it, even
Like,
though you're not gonna get your car wash. But
yeah, is that like this thing that's like a company-wide programming and one in the company has a car wash? They're just like, let's program every single one of our computers with this.
oh, I'm sure, man. It's corporate America. That's what happens. So I'm sure that nobody's putting any extra effort into making anything better for the consumer at this point. Not on something that minute. But yeah, that's about as irritating as it gets.
Fucking gas stations.
I know the feeling.
All right, so being a DJ, you spin records, right?
Yes, sir.
When you
not well, but I do it.
I mean, you do it well. You amp the crowd up.
I do my best.
We've talked a lot about Ye's and Drake's projects on the podcast. We talked a lot about like current music that's been coming out. As a DJ, is there any record from Drake or Ye's new album that you would spin in a club?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't hear any on Drake's. I heard a few on Ye's. I didn't hear any on Drake's.
Really? You don't think Way Too Sexy is a club banger?
No.
Are you serious?
Maybe like a hookah lounge.
Yeah, I think that would bump in a club, man. I think, you might have to, mix it with maybe another peppier beat or something along those lines and tie it in to make sure you have like a little more bass or something. But I think that's a banger. I couldn't say that it's not.
I'm not saying it's not a banger, but like by itself, do you see like a crowd like being lit to that?
Probably not. Yeah, no, probably not. You're probably right. I think as a single itself, I think from a DJ's perspective, I think both albums have a lot of potential to be played in those settings, mixed in the right places. But I think as an individual record, there is not a lot I'm seeing from either of them. I see what you're getting at, for sure.
Fair. Although for Ye's album, I can see people in the club going nuts for the "Guess Who's Going to Jail Tonight."
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course, screaming that at the top of your lungs. It's like the 2021 version of Sweet Caroline. I could definitely see that.
Kanye, the new fucking Sweet Caroline. You hear it here first.
Yeah.
That's actually incredible.
Yeah, nobody's screaming, ba, ba, ba. Everybody's screaming, guess who's going to jail tonight? I could totally see that. Yeah, absolutely. 2 a.m. the bar's closing down.
Doing that shit.
2 a.m. at the bar closing down. Yeah, absolutely. Right before everybody gets in a fight,
Bar bouncers are going to hate that shit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, of course. Those poor bastards. I don't think that's one job that everybody has always asked me, would you ever want to be a bouncer at a bar? Because they see me like I'm 6'6", I'm 300 plus pounds. Like they're like, yeah, you would be a great bouncer. I'm like, nah, because I'm not that kind of dude. I'm not trying to get in other people's business like that. And I've been the dude causing the fight at the bar too. So I can't really, I can't be a hypocrite about it, right?
Yeah. You also got to do cleaning up the fight at the bar too.
Touche.
My bad.
Shit happens, man. That was so worth it. That was a great night. I don't care what anybody says. I don't know what your followers know about that night, but I thought that was a hell of a night, and it was worth every dirty look and bullshit that we caught after that. So
I tell that story frequently. It's a good time.
Perfect.
So with that Drake and Ye conversation, what are your thoughts on the Drake and Ye beef?
Gosh, I don't know. You see, like, these guys have been going at this for like the better part of a decade now, right? Like, I understand there was a break for when Pop Style came out, when Drake featured The Throne on there for right before Views popped off. Right. But that feature was pulled before the actual album was released for these same kind of things of these guys not getting along. I think as far as the beef, it's hard to say that Drake hasn't got the better of Kanye at this one. At this point, there's a couple direct jabs and a couple direct lines that these guys are throwing at each other, in their music. But it's hard to say in popularity, the reception of how their albums have done. It seems like Certified Lover Boy has been well received compared to Donda not being very well received as a rap album, at least. I think it's been well received as a gospel album and as a live theatrical production, but not necessarily as a hip hop album.
That's fair. Like the way I see it is like these two, like you said, have been going at it for a fucking decade, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, in that same breath, they've had little jabs here and there, but nobody's thrown that knockout punch.
Yeah, nobody's put out that one diss record. Nobody's made, back to back. Nobody has made like Sheether or something like that, or Ether or anything along those lines for that one record to say, okay, well, this is over.
Yeah, nobody did like a hit 'em up. But also like when you look at the numbers, Certified Lover Boy, I don't remember the exact numbers, but Certified Lover Boy did quite substantially more first day numbers than Donda, but then significantly trickled down the 3-4 days afterwards, whereas Donda did pretty solid first day numbers and then continuously rose, and each day that passes he's still passing Drake.
Sure, that makes sense, and I think a lot of that is hype behind the album though. Like
so we had a fucking 27 track project.
Yeah, when you're talking about doing a double LP like that, it's difficult to be able to say, okay, well, who's going to be able to sit down and listen to 27 tracks in a row to be able to listen to an entire project? And I think that's also a tribute to how music is consumed today. Nobody's listening from a project start to finish, even though, yeah, exactly. Like even if that was the way that the artist intended for that project to be listened to, everybody is listening to the singles that they come up on Spotify for, or whatever comes across their YouTube or Apple Music or anything in that regard. There's very few people that are sitting down and critically looking over the album saying, how do all 27 of these pieces fit together?
100%. I agree. And it's it's beautiful because it's beautiful and a downfall at the same time. Like in the one sense, you get to release as much content as you want to because people are hungry for it. But also it's a downfall because a lot of great content does get overlooked.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's what happens when the market is oversaturated to like where it is right now.
100%.
It's a tough business. Any way you look at it, it is a tough business. Like you said, there's too many great projects that kind of go under the radar. I'm trying to think of a good example of one at the moment for something that has came out recently.
All the Kanye and Drake hype completely overshadows the fact that J. Cole dropped a project this year.
Yeah, what is that? Off-road or the off-season? That was fantastically. That was done so well.
I still stand by Nas dropped the album of the year.
I don't have enough knowledge of it because I haven't listened to it to be able to say, to be able to compete with you on it. But I'll take your opinion on it. I'll take your word for it because
when you get a chance, just dive into it. Remember like the early 2000s when we were kids and Nas was just running everything still?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like reminiscent of Nas in that form lyrically.
Sure.
Over modern production.
Okay.
And like his cadence, if Nas's cadence could improve, it improved. And his delivery and his storytelling, if Nas could improve, it improved.
Sure, which is impressive. But this has also been something that Nas has done over the course of the last, 15 to 10 years as well, where he's put out projects and people have said, listen, Nas's albums are really good, but they're not to the level that he was with his rookie and sophomore releases. So people are like, yeah, he's still falling off. He's still falling off. He's still falling off. Well, just because this one project got so much hype doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the body of the work is still terrible.
Yeah, I will say King's Disease 1 and 2 potentially better than Illmatic.
That's a bold statement. That's a very bold statement.
I'll stand by that one.
That's a hot take, bud. That's a hot take. Okay.
I'll stand by that one.
Fair enough. Hey, I'll the Illmatic is a classic, so I won't say that you're wrong, because at the end of the day, music is art, right? Music is subjective. It's not
100%.
necessarily about statistics. Yes, there are statistics that back up things as far as economic backups, like as far as how many times this has been listened to, or how many album purchases it was, at least back in the day. Now it's how many
Sure.
streams an artist gets. But at the end of the day, art is still art, and I think people don't understand that music is, with it being literally art, uh, everything is subjective to people's
100%.
opinions. There's no this is better than that, or that is better than this. This is the body of work that this has compared to the body of work that has been done previously.
Yeah, everyone's ears, everyone's
No one's looking at two different Van Gogh paintings and saying this one's better than the other one, but so for some reason that happens in music.
It's subjective because art is an emotional thing, and it impacts you based on when that art hits you in your life. If you can
absolutely.
if you can relate to it at that point in your life, you're going to hold on to that specific song, that specific project for the rest of your life.
Yes, because of that, how you related to that at that time in your life makes a significant difference in what you have at that time frame.
Exactly.
When Lupe Fiasco dropped Laser, like that one really hit me in the feels because of the shit that was going on in my life. And I don't think Laser was like this incredible album looking back on it, but it holds a very special place for me just because of the things that I was going through at that time frame.
Yep, because of where you were.
Yeah.
So like, being said all that, like you and I, we grew up in a very similar town. We grew up
for sure
day one homies. Like we grew up in the same, childhood, same neighborhoods. As we aged, like different environments and everything. But
yes,
you
sir.
and I both had parents who like were accepting, but also did not like the cuss words in like hip hop music.
Oh yeah, holy crap. I couldn't tell you how many times that like my parents got a hold of like my iPod or something and been like, listen, you're deleting everything off of this right now. There's one song on here you can keep. It's like, I don't know. I can't even remember what it was, but this is the only song you're allowed to keep. Everything else gets here deleted right now. And I was like, okay, so
I'm just gonna reinstall it tomorrow. But
yeah, right. No, what I ended up doing was I ended up getting a second iPod that my parents didn't know about through some money that I got from like birthdays and shit, and I ended up loading all the music that I wanted to on there. It had like a fake playlist that was like parent approved that I would like have around my parents, and I'd be like, oh yeah, Tyler's listening to this music, oh he's fine. My parents were very concerned about the music that I was listening to growing up, thinking, okay, well, this is going to have a significant impact on how he's going to grow up, so we're going to make sure that he's not listening to anything that is harmful to his character.
Right. So I got to ask the question then. So like, you now being a parent, are you planning on or ever going to like censor your kids what he consumes?
Hell no. No way in hell, because the world is not censored.
Facts.
You see, that was one thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my parents to pieces, and I think they did everything they possibly could well to raise me. But I think they tried to shelter me in this environment and say, like, this is the type of person we want you to be. So this is what the content you need to consume in order to be that person. But the real world doesn't function that way. The real world functions in, nobody gives a shit about what you're saying. It's 2021. Like, fuck is dropped in my workplace probably 50 times a day.
It's dropped in my mind 100 times a second.
Of course, right? Like nobody cares. Like, so for me to come and tell my son, like, listen, you're not going to hear this in the real world, so I'm not going to let you consume this. I want my son to be prepared. So if he comes into the real world and I have not prepared him for that, then I failed. I agree. And I cannot possibly put him in that situation where I've said, okay, well, now he goes to college and I haven't let him listen to any music that's cussed at all, and then he's like in shell shock at his first party, not knowing how to handle himself. Right. Like, I'm not going to do that to him.
That's fair. And like, I think like there's a lot to be said about like when it comes down to it, like there's such a stigma on fucking curse words. There's such a stigma on expressive emotions that like, just because somebody says something in their art doesn't mean they're actually going to fucking do it. Like there's such a stigma on people who think like, just because somebody says something, that's how they are, that's how they act. But no, everybody has these intrusive thoughts. Everybody has these kind of emotions. And especially like with mental health not being as acknowledged as it is, people who are typically like have mental illness have these thoughts more frequently, and it is healthy for them to let these thoughts out, especially in art form. And then kids cling to them because they often, especially in adolescence, have mental illness. So then they relate to them and cling to them, and it helps them like not feel it by themselves. So they're not in this dark, alone place. They literally like cling to some of these artists who put this shit out.
Sure, absolutely. And that's why you see guys like, especially, I don't know, guys that make how do I want to say it, very emotionally involved, connective, build you up kind of music. You see it in like, I don't know, like NF, Whit Lowry, these kind of guys that make really emotionally deep stuff to try to, lift kids out of these dark times. That's why these guys cling to this so much. It's because that's what they're going through at their time frame.
Yeah, and I think it was like, I saw an interview, it was like, I think it was Gary Vee, and he was like interviewed by his teacher, who was like saying like, well, what if your kid said fuck in class? And he was like, I'm not that concerned by it.
Yeah.
Like,
want to know why? Because the real world doesn't care.
Right. Like, I'm not concerned if my kid is in class or in any setting and says fuck. But I am concerned if I'm in a public setting and my kid's not being a decent human being.
Exactly. The adjectives that my kid uses doesn't define him as a person.
Right.
So I'm, like I said, I'm not concerned if he hears it in a song. I'm not concerned if he hears other people saying it, or if he even hears me saying it around the house. It's going to be said, especially in my mouth. I mean, I came up in the construction industry, man. Like, the things that I've heard on the construction site, if he ever decides he wants to take that similar route, what am I going to do? Shelter him and then let him go there and be like, oh my gosh, these people are acting like this. The difference is I don't want him to think of any of those people as being bad people either, because they're not bad people. They just talk differently than you might have ever heard.
Right. Like, what if there's one kid that's like, say your kid's across the room, right? Somebody's entering the room, has their hands full. One kid on the one end of the desk just sits there, doesn't open the door, but your kid's on the other side of the room. He says, bro, open the fucking door.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's the
the better human?
Right.
Yeah. I could give a shit about, I don't care about his language as much as I care about his actions.
100%.
I think that's the best way I can possibly sum it up. And,
bro, do you remember we were going to my brother's baseball tournament, and I think it was like Shoddy by T-Pain and Flies came out.
Yeah, in Maryland?
Yeah,
we
and
were
my
going to
mom
Maryland, right?
freaked the fuck out. Turn this off.
I was like, well, I have the edited version. Just try to save face there. And your mom was like, well, you're getting the edited version too, Ryan. And you're like, no. And you're like, yes, you are right now. And your dad like rolls down the windows immediately to try to like drown out the noise.
Yeah, and then my dad switched the station to hair metal that says fuck also.
Yeah, right?
Like, the same implications, just saying instead of rap.
Yeah, just the exact same innuendo, the exact same concept, but it's spoken differently, so it's okay. I mean, this is generational too, right?
Right.
Like, and it'd be no different than moms being concerned about their girls swing dancing in the fucking 60s, like, this is a problem. This is what we have going on. No, it's not something bad happening. It's just something happening.
Right.
And it's our job to adapt. Yeah. Right.
Speaking of like childhood fucking memories, do you think the people who tune into this remember the game Quarters?
Oh my god.
I remember sitting in the fucking dining room, bloody knuckled, playing Quarters with you and your dad. And your dad wrecked my shit, and then you beat your dad.
For clarification, this is not the Quarters drinking game.
No.
This is literally
drinking.
You put a quarter under your thumb and flip it into the other person's knuckles, basically until they bleed enough to where they can't continue or give up because it hurts too much.
You had to spin the quarter and stop that shit. We played that in the library in school, bro.
That we did. That we did.
Quiet time flinging quarters everywhere.
Yeah, that was, oh my gosh, the shit that we got away with that they had no idea about, or they knew about and didn't care either because it had not a significant enough impact for them to really give a shit. So I don't know.
Dude, it's wild. Especially like the things that were accepted and the things that weren't accepted for like where we were. Like that was accepted, but there's so much other shit that was just like normal that wasn't.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So like when I first started making hip hop music, I got looked at like I had 14 eyes, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
And you were like the first and one of the only like people who like rode with me in the beginning. For like people listening, because we Bobby and I like have quite a few like listeners on the podcast who are also like upcoming artists who have just started out in their journey, just trying to learn. Can you
Sure.
like speak on your experience as a homie whose homie decides, hey, I want to make music, who then gets looked at like they have 49 eyes?
Yeah, absolutely. So where I was in my life back when you started making music was I don't want to say it was similar circumstances, but it kind of felt like it was similar circumstances. You know, I had just dropped out of college. I had everybody telling me like my coach talking mad shit about me, saying he's paycheck to paycheck for the rest of his life. He's not going to do anything well. Where I had a lot of people that I felt like had really bailed on me. I had a lot of people that really backed out on me and said, you know, I felt really judged for that at that time frame. So when you started making music and you know, we started chilling again and we started hanging out and you were just accepting for me as I was, regardless of my past or regardless of what I was doing and regardless of anything that I had going on in my life, that resonated with me.
That's
So
right.
I was like, fuck, if he's, I'm not going to, how can I be that? How, I can't be that type of person that's going to be mad judgmental about anything that you're doing with your life if you're not going to be doing that to me either. You know, you get the energy that you receive or you give the energy that you receive and vice versa.
100%.
So, I mean, as your friend, absolutely. There was never going to be a point where I was going to be like, uh, no, I'm not gonna, you know, this is the dumbest thing ever, because the reality was is you were chasing your passion and you were happy chasing your passion compared to, you know, the 9 to 5 that you never wanted to do your entire life. And I was like, oh, if I mean he's making himself happy, who the hell is anybody to be able to judge off of that? But it wasn't until like I don't think people understand looking back on it. Like it's easy to say, but like up until as recently as what, like 5 6 years ago now, until your music actually started to pop off a little bit, you know, everybody was talking shit about us. Like literally everybody in our hometown, every bar we walked into, every person we passed, it was like, you know, anybody who thinks they have hot shit to say, they fucking say it.
Yeah,
And
we were white getting racial slurs thrown at us.
yeah, absolutely. It was, you know, it got to a point where it was just like, you know, absolutely just fuck these people. You know, we're gonna do what we're gonna do regardless of what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you're on board or you're not.
Facts. Did you ever have like people like come up to you and like try to like pull you like aside, be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? What the fuck is he doing? Like, what the fuck are you
Oh
doing?
yeah, all the time. Like, what are you doing hanging out with Bronson? Like, what you know that he's a loser, right? Like he's not going anywhere. And I was like, yeah, that's your opinion. Like, okay, like I don't really care. Like me and Ryan are friends and I'm always gonna ride for him regardless. But yeah, I had that happen constantly. Like until that summer that you jumped on the Cam tour.
Yeah.
And after that,
Everything
and
changed.
you had that, yeah, after you had that show there, and then we had that local show home that we opened up for Wiz, and then everybody stopped talking shit in front of us.
Right. Yeah. It was all behind the scenes after that.
Yeah. Nobody would dare say something to our face after that point. I'm sure that still happened after behind closed doors and everything, you know, because people don't really change. But when you have enough of a resume to throw back in somebody's face, be like, well, I've done this. What the fuck have you done with your life? You know,
Right.
people shut the fuck up.
Yeah, they typically tend to.
Yeah. So like, yeah, what summer was that? Was that like summer of
summer 15?
Yeah, summer 2015. That's like when that change happened. And then after that summer, after we got back from tour, after that show, nobody else was talking shit after that point. I didn't have nobody pulling me aside being like, oh, what are you doing? What do you got going on here? Like, are you really sure you really want to keep company around Bronson? Like he's not the type of person you want to be around. Because that shit happened often.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and it was just like, all right, well, you know.
That's why I was like so like what like hell bent on like if this shit pops off, ain't nobody coming with me except Bobby and Ty.
Yeah, right, exactly. It was like it's literally my day ones and fuck everybody else. Like
literally.
That's what it came down to. And there was really a strong point there where it really felt like it was all us against the world and not even on some fake shit, because it was literally everyone else against us.
Yeah, and it was the weirdest shit because like they would say all sorts of shit online, then we would walk into the bar and the same people were buying us drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the weirdest shit. But speaking of that, back home local witch show, that was your first time DJing.
My first time DJing. Jesus, I was fucking scared.
Story time.
A story time. So basically, when Ryan first goes on tour, he's first coming up. It's like his first studio album came out. He had enough social media buzz to where he hops on this tour with Cam Meekins at the time. And I run around and basically I control. My involvement with that tour was controlling Ryan's music from the soundboard, in the back of the crowd. That was my gig.
A little side detail here. I still feel bad because Tyler was kind of the team bitch on that tour.
That I was, absolutely, in every way, shape, and form.
Having to do all the shit that either I was too drunk to do or that Bobby didn't want to do.
Yeah, fair. Running the merch table, just being the homie. I was doing what I had to do. But yeah, that was kind of what I was doing on the tour. So we get home from that tour. We had like a local, what is it? There's like a local venue that brings in mostly country artists, and that year they decided they wanted to bring in a hip hop act.
Yeah. It was it's usually like outdoor amphitheater.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a nice spot, but I was working in construction at the time, so I was bouncing around, and they announced that the act was going to be Wiz Khalifa, and we were like, oh shit, we should get tickets to the show. Like, that sounds great. We should go get tickets. And then I was like, oh shit, I got a job. I had to run down to 100 miles away to go work on this job. And Ryan's like calling me, oh, you still want to go to the Wiz show? I'm like, no, I can't, man. I got to work. And, I would say, a week goes by?
Yeah.
Probably a week.
If that,
yeah, you call me back. I'm like, yo, Tyler, what are you doing this night? And I'm like, I know it's the night of the Wiz show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Ryan, I told you, I can't go to the show. I have to work. He said, dude, we're not going to the show. We're opening the show. And I said, holy fuck. Okay. So yeah, we long story short, I ended up dragging up on the job. So I ended up quitting the job so I could go back and open the show with Ryan. It was a blast. But yeah.
It was a $75 DJ board.
Yeah, it was just this
DJ
little
tips from DJ Drama.
Yeah, so that was the craziest shit. So we don't even have the DJ software on this, right? Like, we're just like, well, we can't go up there without a DJ. Tyler, you're gonna have to DJ. I'm like, I don't know how to fucking DJ. What the hell am I gonna do? So we literally buy this little $75 USB plug into your computer mixer, and we didn't have enough money to buy the software. So we're running the trial software that only runs for 10 minutes. And then I'm flipping back to iTunes to run it as we're going through the shit. And it was fucking challenging because I'm shitting bricks. And this is I don't know. This is our
too.
Yeah. We went and picked up a couple bottles, and I'm freaking panicking because I don't know how to do this shit. And this is the first real. It's not even the first real show that we're doing. It's the first big show that we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many people were there.
First show over 300 people. There, the end attendance was it was 15,000 tickets sold. It rained, so 1,300 showed up, or 13,000 showed up.
Yeah. And I was scared as shit. So, towards the end of our set, we were holding through it. There were a couple spots that I really messed up. I sped up one of Brian's tracks, and he kept on it. He kept on it well. But by the time I realized it, pulled it back down, we kind of saved face. But he could hear it happening and came in on it right. But so on that tour was Chevy Woods, DJ Drama, and Wiz Khalifa.
Mm-hmm.
So DJ Drama's coming on right after us. So I got the stage manager coming up to me yo, you guys got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got enough. You guys' time slot's running out. And we got another song. And DJ Drama's coming up behind me because he set up his board as our set is going on. He's like, I got time for one more. I'm like, are you sure? He was like, yeah, man, go ahead. I was like,
yeah, okay, sure, it's fine.
Yeah. Keep in mind, at this point, I didn't know it was DJ Drama.
I forgot about that too.
I was like, oh shit, so who is this guy? And I was like, all right, I got time for one more. This guy gets up and starts spinning his own music. I'm like,
Oh,
oh
that's who
shit,
that was.
this is DJ Drama. Okay. But yeah, that was I apologized to him afterwards for going over a time. He was really chill about it. He's like, oh, it's cool, no worries, you guys were feeling it. So yeah, we had a great time, but I was fucking nervous as shit trying to figure out how to actually mix records in the 2 weeks that we had.
Yeah, and like we definitely like practiced a little bit beforehand, but not as much as we
Yeah.
should have. But that's
Not even close.
that's a testament to one, manifestation, and two, like just go, like we preach on this podcast a lot about just like literally just going and getting what you want, and
Yeah,
good things will follow. And to speak on that, like you were like, yeah, like fuck my job this day, I'm gonna go do this. And then literally after that, obviously like you wanted to, like you're a drummer at heart, so your main passion in music's likely drumming,
and it always will be, of course,
especially at this time.
Yeah.
But after this appearance as a DJ, there were people hitting you up offering to pay you money to DJ for them afterwards.
Yeah, literally, I'm now making money going to shows and mixing records for people, and actually learn the craft to some degree in beat matching and understanding where to drop records in on. Yeah, like I've grown a lot as a DJ since that day. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's turned into a really awesome situation for sure.
Yeah, and that's a testament to like what we always tell people on here is, if you have a passion for something, if you have a drive for something, put yourself in positions to go after them.
Absolutely.
And don't say no to opportunities. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. It doesn't matter how scared you are. If you have that fucking, you're scrolling on Indeed, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a time like right now, where everybody's fucking hiring. You're scrolling through Indeed, you find this job that you think looks very interesting to you, that you have qualifications for, or you have interest in, but it says, oh, you need a 2-year degree.
You need a 2-year degree, or you need 5 years of experience or something. Fuck it. Apply for it. What's the worst that can happen?
Literally, still apply for it, because they will take people who, one, have a little bit of experience, 2, have passion, and 3, they obviously don't have people beating down their door to come work there. Sure. They're posting it on Indeed.
Yeah, exactly. They obviously don't have the connections they need to, or the networking that they have to bring on local employees, or bringing in other connections that they have in order to make that job happen. Yeah, fuck it. Who gives a shit if you're qualified? Who gives a shit about that? If this is what you want to do and this is where you want to be, fucking go for it.
100%. Never let terminology or anything like that defer you from where you're trying to be and where you're trying to go. And also, in that same breath, don't ever let like lack of experience do that either, because the only way to get experience is through experience.
Yeah, exactly. There's no one that's just handing out free years of experience. You have to go acquire it somehow, some way.
Yeah, you have to get it. And also, in any field, in any profession, in anything, you're going to be told no a million more times than you're ever going to hear the word yes.
Absolutely. I think that was definitely like, people think that it's really easy for us to say this kind of thing, right? It's like, oh, well, you guys don't get it. You guys don't understand what it's like to have this kind of rejection. And I think what we're really coming after here is the fear of rejection.
Sure.
What I don't think anybody sees is how many times we were rejected in the beginning. Like how many times, yeah, absolutely. But how many times you get shut down before you finally start to see a little bit of success. Right. But it's always that fear of saying, oh, I'm not good enough, or, oh, I don't have enough experience, or, oh, I'm not talented enough to be doing what I need to be doing here, or I'm not going to be good enough to be able to do this, so I'm not even going to try. Right. It's that fear that holds people back.
100%. Like the only sure way to fail at anything is not going after it. Absolutely. The only sure way to fail is to not do it. And like that's also a testament to like the way, obviously we're not a household name, we're not a household image, but we are able to sustain to where we pop in a city, we're going to pull people out that know us.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to be just a bunch of nobodies that are just going to have an open bar.
Right. So I think it's a testament to say to the people who do listen and who do have goals, whether that's in music, whether that's in construction, whether that's in any fucking field that you want to be in, the only way to actually go get it is to put your fucking self out there.
Yeah.
And there's no way to I think we talked about it on the last episode. The only way you actually fail is by not trying or giving up.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're in pursuit.
If you've already given up, you've already lost. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you think you're this or you think you're that or what's going on. If you give up, you've already lost.
100%.
Nobody else is going to believe in you as much as you can believe in yourself.
Yeah, and invest in yourself too.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be. It's whether it's acquiring a degree, whether it's acquiring the know-how to make music, whether it's acquiring the equipment that you need to, or the knowledge that you need to learn how to do construction, any job, it's going to take a little bit of a self-investment.
Absolutely.
Whether you're investing time or you're investing money, you're still investing.
Yeah. Time is money, so it's essentially what it is, right?
Right, and it's literally, if you don't have the money, invest your time. If you don't have the time, invest the money. If
Definitely.
You're not willing to invest either, that's an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. It's an excuse to be complacent.
100%. And on that note, so obviously your first tour experience was prior to that Wiz show. What is your first impression of the tour life?
Of the tour life? Okay, so there is this thought process that tour is this incredibly glamorous thing, like that, maybe that's the case if you are, a major headliner event of somebody that's bringing in and having, pulling, stadiums full of people and you get to have a tour bus or something along those lines. Yeah, maybe that's a glamorous event. Nothing about tour is glamorous when you are a starting artist.
Nothing about pushing in a van full of dudes is glamorous.
Yeah, that's not a lot of fun. You basically loading yourself into either a tiny car with 5 people like we did or 4 people like we did, and traveling across the country for literally 6-7 hours a day to get to the next city to play the next show, and crashing at some hotel room and then getting up the next morning and doing it again while you recover from your hangover.
Literally. And the misconception is like, oh, well, it's your choice to get hungover. It's your choice to party. That's a common misconception. Because literally that, and we've said it before on here, that partying, that taking shots with the fans, that drinking with the fans, that drinking with the other acts, that's part of your job. I'm not saying you have to drink. Like if there's a alcohol issue within you, you don't have to be drinking.
Of course, but that's probably something that everybody already knows because you're bringing that into your music as well.
100%. But that networking, that staying.
Yes, that's the key word. This is literally networking at this point, where you are taking shots with guys, you are buying beers, talking to people, meeting new fans, handing out links to your social medias and saying follow me here, and following other people, figuring out what is going on and connecting with these people. This is the way you meet fans. This is the way you grow as a small timer. Like, this was before streaming was an option for us. This was before streaming took off.
It was and it was like that. Even if you're not drinking, you're still out till 3 a.m. if you're being successful, because you're networking with people. Like, even if people are offering you the shots, you're still at the bar till the bar closes, saying, no, thank you on the shot, but let's chop it up. You're still out till 3 a.m. when you got to be up at 7 to take that next 9-hour drive the next day.
Yeah, because you're trying to get from San Francisco to fucking Los Angeles in a day because you have a show that you have a sound check for at 5 p.m.
Right.
Even though the show doesn't start till 9, but it's a 6-hour trip, so you got to get your ass up and go.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of a process that we developed and also learned the hard way.
Yeah. My gosh. Yeah.
When we first started, we thought we were hot shit.
Oh yeah.
we were the opening acts. We would do our set and dip.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we were hot shit. We were like, we don't need to stay for the headliner. We don't got any of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did our set. We dipped. We're like, okay, nobody's coming up to us to buy merch right after we get off. Like, what? just dip.
We're not gonna chill around. We're gonna get the hell out of here.
Yeah, and then like on accident one night, like, and again, this is the universe speaking to you. When the universe finds, if you talk to the universe fucking listens, and also universe also will present you with exactly what you need at a time if you're following the correct path. And one night we were just like shooting the shit, like drinking, partying, ended up staying at the venue way later than we usually do. Headliner got off stage. We had our best merch night. Headliner got off stage. We ended up linking, and a collaboration came with the headliner. And we ended up making fans that literally still ride for us and end up driving like 7 to 10 hours to see us.
Yeah. Then obviously we're not going to name drop who that person is, but yeah, that was kind of when we realized, holy shit, maybe this is something we should be doing.
Yeah,
because looking back on it, there are probably some big networking opportunities that we had that we missed out on not knowing.
100%. And I think that's, as we moved forward, we were like, this is going to be late nights. This is going to be fucking grueling. There was fucking times like, and like the highlight reels always look glamorous, but there was a time on tour where I almost sent Tyler home.
Oh yeah. St. Louis. Yeah. Yes.
Like he
I got belligerently drunk one night.
Yeah, and he almost got sent home. Me thinking that, well, this was like the night after that I realized like networking was a fucking key.
Yeah.
Bobby was, I don't know what the fuck Bobby was doing, but Ty was belligerent. Kato and Parker were all like drunk, but not like drunk to the, like, because we had to go back to Parker's dorm.
Yeah.
Like that, we were so young that we were like staying with homies like in dorms, you know. And Tyler, drunk ass. One, I was drunk and already pissed because he dropped my pizza.
Oh, the fucking pizza box. What was I trying to do?
I don't even know, bro. I don't know. But you dropped my whole pizza.
I was trying to like do some weird shit, bro. I was trying to like flip the pizza like onto my shoulder or some weird shit like that, being drunk as fuck, and was just like, all right, well, then I just straight up just dropped the pizza.
Yeah, you just dropped the whole pizza on the concrete. Then we get back to this place, and Tyler, like, we love him for it, was just being Tyler, yelling, screaming, thought he was in the right dorm, pounding on the fucking neighbor's door, thought he was locked out. I'm like, dude, Tyler, go get in this fucking dorm or we're gonna send your ass home.
Keep in mind, I don't remember any of this.
Long story. No, actually, we're gonna continue on the story. We're not gonna do long story short.
Sure.
Tyler ended up literally falling asleep, sitting up with his shoes on.
Yeah,
every single person in there drew on him. He had logos on him that I will not explain in detail. He had penises on him.
Yeah, everywhere. It was.
He walked into the gas station next morning, not knowing, and the dude at the gas station looked at him like he had 46 eyes.
Yeah, it was a night to remember if you were there to remember it. I wasn't, but yeah, that was a hell of a time. And yeah, you're gonna fight on tour when you're around somebody for, you know, literally 24 hours a day for 8 days straight. Like that shit's gonna happen.
100%. It's no different. Like when you're also like when you're with your homies, if you're with your homies 24/7, you're gonna argue like brothers. But especially if you're in a fucking car traveling the fucking country with people.
Oh yeah,
they will become like family.
For sure.
So y'all will fight like family.
Absolutely.
But then will get to the place the next night. Shots. Yup. Let's go.
Yeah, like you put it past you, you move on. And that's kind of like believing in the end result too.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
And it's also just like, it's like, one, like we operate it as a business, and two, it's just like no matter what the fuck happens, like end of the day, like if you're the artist, like your homies are here supporting you, like they're here for you and riding with you, like they believe in you. They're not there because they want to be, like, I'm sure they want to be there to some extent, but they're there because they want to be there with you, not just because they want to be there.
Absolutely.
You know,
100%.
And luckily I had Tyler and I had Bobby there to like check me on my shit a few times.
Sure.
I'm sure my fucking ego got out of hand.
Of course, as all of us did. We were fucking 20 years old thinking we were, you know, on top of the world.
Yeah, like my ego got out of hand and I had great fucking friends that checked my ass.
Sure, when it needs to be done, it needs to be done.
Yeah, and it's and that's where it's a brotherhood. It's all love. It's all
Absolutely.
if you got to have that type of people in your circle, otherwise your circle will have holes.
Yeah. If your people in your circle are not checking you when you need to be checked, you need a new circle, bud, because those people are there to just gas you up at that point. They're not there to actually be your friends.
Right, and you got to keep in mind, like at this time we were youngins, dude. Like we were kids,
children,
and like
we were children,
and like as like just like music that I make has evolved, life has evolved. Ty, you should speak on like the evolving and the changing of like childhood friendships into adulthood friendships, and like,
yeah,
like that,
absolutely,
it's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think a good way to say that is like we were kids when we started making the music, right? Like when we started making music and we started doing shows and we
were kids when we became homies.
Yeah, absolutely. We were kids even, that was way back in the day. That was back when we were playing ball together and shit.
Yeah.
But as far as transitioning that into adulthood and understanding that, one, other people have responsibilities that happen when they grow up. Like
100%.
Back when, like, I don't know, back when I was like working kind of from home and I was still like a single dude, I was literally coming over out of Ryan's house every single day playing Super Smash Brothers in their basement after work just because we freaking could. Yeah, and it was like, this is literally like a daily occurrence. And then, I got a different job. I had to eventually start traveling a lot more for it. And, we stayed in touch, obviously, and through music and through just being friends. Yeah, we did that. But that relationship dynamic absolutely changes. Like, when I found my girlfriend, who ended up turning into my fiance, who ended up turning into my wife, who is now the mother of my child, when she came into the picture, yeah, she's a dope ass bitch. I fucking love my wife. She's everything I could have ever asked for in a wife. But yeah, absolutely. When we got to that stage in our lives where, I'm now held down by a dope ass chick and I'm on the road, I'm working all the time, my career is now becoming a focal point in my life. Like, some of that got put on the back burner on mine and Ryan's relationship, but that doesn't mean that we're not as good of friends as we could ever have been. Like, literally, we're still as close as we ever were. Ryan's still the best man at my wedding. He was still, the person that I call to when my chips are down. But that dynamic absolutely shifts because responsibilities shift as well.
Yeah, like life happens for everybody. Life changes for everybody, but that doesn't mean, like, especially when you go from like childhood friends to adulthood friends, like you find that chick. Like, we both have right now girls that are holding us down. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
We both got real ones. And like, especially like when you were on the road all the time, you found that chick. So you're like, your off time was reserved for that girl.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, I was working in New York City, and on the weekends, instead of driving home to see Ryan so we could party in the bars, I was driving from New York City to Pittsburgh because that's where my wife was going to school, to spend time with her, and then driving back home rather than, driving back home to my hometown where me and Ryan are from to party with him. Like, that doesn't mean that I didn't want to spend time with Ryan, but the priorities then shifted. Absolutely.
100%. But that also doesn't mean like it doesn't mean like the greatest friends, like when they hit that adulthood, when they do see each other, it doesn't mean that there's a fucking gap there.
It doesn't mean that's any less special, right?
Yeah, it's like you pick up like literally like
the day after you left off, right?
Yeah, you still catch up, like, and talk about your real life shit.
Yeah,
your conversations kind of, they get a little bit more in depth and more connecting.
Oh, definitely, of course. Because as you are maturing, as you are maturing, you're growing up with that person next to you because they're going through similar experiences at the same time. So, like, as Ryan is going through finding, the person that, he is with, and, growing that relationship and basically becoming the little family that he is and that he has, he's been able to relate to that experience that I have with my wife and my firstborn child and things along those lines.
I still got to see that little man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You'll get down here to Charlotte soon.
Oh, 100%.
We're looking forward to it, man. Absolutely.
I cannot fucking wait. But yeah, like, with it almost becomes like I think like you do take for granted as youngins, like the time that you get with your friends. But if you're
Definitely.
friends, that friendship becomes tighter as you age. Even though like you don't see each other every single fucking day, like you used to,
Absolutely.
that relationship becomes tighter. Like y'all still share memes all the time.
Yeah.
Y'all still
Yeah.
share those funny fucked up TikToks.
Yeah, sure. Look at our Instagram DMs. I'm sure it's just nothing but going back and forth of funny shit that we see. But
Yeah,
it's not even enough time for us to have a conversation. It's still enough time for us to be like, oh, Ryan would think this was funny, so I send this to him, and then he sends me something back. Not that we don't want to have a conversation with each other, but
like
we're both working. We both have other shit going on.
Literally.
And that doesn't mean that when we do get time to hang out, that it's anything like you said. There's no gap in that relationship.
Yeah, like we
just grow together.
Yeah, like we're aging, but we can still throw them back.
Oh yeah. I mean that too for sure. Whenever we get together, yeah, it's always a good time. But
well, I will say Tyler, the past few times, other than the one recent time that we've gotten together, has had me golfing. Your boy can't golf. Your boy can't golf at all.
My 7-iron, bastard.
I did break his club. But to my defense, when I swing, I'm a lefty.
You were using right-handed clubs.
These were right-handed clubs.
Totally understand.
And I can barely swing lefty, bro. How the fuck you expect me to swing with my right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very true. I did a whole bit against you. I really did it. But I mean, golfing is Ryan do not mix well. The only thing about golfing that mixes well with Ryan is the beer cart. Oh,
there's been multiple times we've been golfing, and I will be like, "Y'all take this hole. I'm gonna sit here and drink this beer and smoke this cigar." I'm here for the fun.
Yes, we're here for the social interaction. We don't want the golfing to get in the way of our drinking time.
I'm the commentator.
Of course.
I am the commentator.
And there's nothing wrong with that. We love you for it. So that's what matters.
I mean, we're here. So one of the bonding points of Ty and Mai's friendship was when we were coming up, the person that was popping and like going everywhere at the time.
I know where you're going with this.
Was G-Eazy.
G-Eazy. You know? He was absolutely dominating the underground market at that time.
Yeah, and there was a time Ty had his hair like G's.
Oh yeah, I wanted to be G-Eazy so bad. It was nobody's business, and everybody knew it. Like looking back on it, it's pretty embarrassing. But dear Lord,
it was a fucking era. It was an era.
Yeah, it was. It was good times. But,
so he just announced these things happen too. Thoughts?
Yeah. So you shared that with me last night, and I was like, I don't want to get caught up in the title, right? So the reality is that G-Eazy hasn't put out good quality music and quality projects for 6 years now.
I agree.
So there's been a couple decent songs here and there. The Beautiful and the Damned had No Limit, which was good.
I thought The Beautiful and Damned was a solid project, but I didn't think it was his best work.
No, it definitely felt like a sophomore slump.
Yeah.
Even though it was his like third major project, it was his second major label project.
He like skipped his sophomore slump and like
his first album that he had put out that it's not actually his first album, but his first one that kind of blew was the These Things Happen album. And that was even still produced independently. It wasn't until When It's Dark Out, when he signed with Atlantic, that's when he kind of became a household name to some degree.
Right.
And it became very clear that after he popped and he started writing music after he popped, it was like, oh shit, you really don't know what to rap about anymore, do you?
Yeah.
It was like, because his music coming up was all about like, it was just really emotional. There was always the bangers. There's the classic G-Eazy, I'm gonna fuck your bitch music.
Yeah.
Like he says on every single song, which was awesome at the time.
Until you have one and you're like, hey.
Yeah, right. But the best part about his music wasn't necessarily those hits. It was the B-side of his albums that were always like really
things that connect about
people. About the things that he was really struggling with at the time, the relationships he was going through, the fact that he was struggling struggling as an artist with money. You know,
Right.
I remember listening to songs talking about, you know, how he's wanted to, just for him and his girlfriend to go out, to be able to afford to go out, they'd split a meal just so they could be able to afford to do it. And as struggling artists at that time, that was something we really related to. Like, yeah, shit, we get this.
Yeah.
And then he popped, and like, you know, what was it? Me, Myself, and I was starting to get played all over the radio everywhere. We're like, oh, we knew this was going to happen. You know, it was very clear.
As soon as he dropped that, I knew.
Yeah, as soon as that came out, it was very clear. And if you followed his come up, you knew this was coming. You knew that he was going to blow up. But it was very clear that after he blew up, he didn't know what to rap about anymore. And there has been a real bad slump since then. Like,
I relate. I feel that.
Yeah, like it's like I said, I think my personal opinion, I really like No Limit. I really like No Limit on The Beautiful and the Damned. But looking back on him and I with Halsey is like super cringeworthy to listen to now.
Especially now, considering knowing what happened between them.
Yeah, knowing that he was like, you know, there's allegations of him abusing her. There's you know, pretty much all but confirmed that he was cheating.
Yeah.
You know, it's super cringeworthy to listen to. I can't even get through the whole song anymore.
No, I can't even play. It comes on, I skip.
Yeah, but the rest of the
B side of that was solid. I will give.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I didn't like about the B side of the project was it was all about him doing drugs, and it was just because, like, don't get me wrong, you know, if you want to do drugs, it's great, but like at the same time, this was not something that he had access to before because he was too broke to afford drugs.
Right, and I think so. I think like as an artist, I can appreciate that he was like. He wasn't talking about the doing drugs in a glorifying way. He was talking about the struggle with it.
Yeah, absolutely. He was talking
like about when Future. We talked about this in the last episode. I fucking hate Future because he glorifies it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he talks about, like, I heard an interview of him talking about when he did Tony Montana. He was so high that he could barely move his face, and he like fucking loves the fact that was the case. It's like, come on, like that's, you know,
it's not cool.
That's you know. That's the kind of message that I don't want my son to hear. Like,
right.
Like, I don't mind him listening to Tony Montana, but I don't want to listen to you talking about how awesome it was because you were absolutely obliterated, because I don't want my son to think that that's okay.
Right. I want y'all to hear that message that this battle that I have with drugs sucks.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Absolutely. I got no problem with that issue.
I have no problem. I don't even have a problem with like the message of I experimented with drugs. It was fun and I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah, sure. I don't hate that either. But anyway, in the relation of G, I'm kind of to a point where, like, after The Beautiful and the Damned, there were just so many flops. There's just so many flops, and it's like, man, it's hard to still consider myself a fan. It's like, I don't like the music you're producing anymore. Nothing about this is relating to what I'm going through. And like I said earlier, music is subjective. So there's probably other people that they really relate to it and they love this new side of him. But as far as looking at the metrics to back it up, that's not really the case either, because he's 100%. Not doing record sales. He's not selling out tours anymore. It's been pretty rough. So when I first saw that that Instagram post that you sent me, I was like, okay, like I'll be excited for it if it's in the same style. I'll be excited for it if you get back to your roots and you have what's going on, the things that made your fan base love you, right? And you get back to that. If that's what you're referencing to at this point, that's awesome. When you create these things happen too. But if you're using this for clout to try to get your fan base to follow you back, that's a different story.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'm to the point where I don't care, and I would rather be pleasantly surprised that it's good than be happy with it and be let down. That's kind of where I'm at with GZ.
That's fair. I feel that, and I think, like, to me, it's like, I don't remember who said it. I think actually no, it was Eminem that said it recently. He actually said it in a song. He was like talking about like fan bases and like saying, like, I don't remember the exact lyric, the exact song title. He was like, Drake, they'll turn on you too. And once they're like there, like there's no coming back from it.
Sure.
I think once you hit a certain point of your career, unfortunately, in this day and age, you hit this certain point in your career where instead of people being impressed by you, they start ridiculing you.
Sure, because they're judging you based off your past work. There's always that bar standard that is set behind whatever new project that you're making. So
sure,
regardless of what comes out, you're always going to have one person saying, okay, well, this wasn't as good as this was before, and or you are too big at this point. We are turning on you at this point. Like there's a
yeah, like it's that, and like there's like this, it's similar in sports as it is in music. Like you get to a certain point of your career where people love an underdog, people love what's new, people love what's next, and
people love the come up,
and they love greatness until they're great.
Yeah,
like
they love watching them climb the mountain. They never like them hitting the peak.
Right. Like when Michael was on his way up, they loved Michael. Then he was the GOAT. Then all of a sudden, they hated Michael. Then it was Kobe. They loved Kobe on his way up. Then Kobe got to the top. Then all of a sudden, it was LeBron. Now LeBron's at the top. Now all of a sudden, everybody hates LeBron.
Yeah, and it's Giannis Antetokounmpo or Kevin Durant, whoever you want to say.
Yeah, but, and they're always looking for that next GOAT, that next, oh, he's better than him because of this particular stat. And they don't look at the whole fucking picture. And I'm not putting G-Eazy in the conversation of GOAT because that's not even close.
He's not there yet. I thought there was at one point in his career where if he was on that trajectory and he kept improving, like it seemed like he was project after project, I thought this was the kind of guy that could be, a Grammy winner someday. I don't think he's anywhere near that now.
Yeah, like I don't even know about like that. Like the Grammy winning thing seems to be a popularity contest, but I don't even.
Sure, I do think. There are some problems that I have with the Grammys. Like the most recent one that comes to mind is the year that Bruno Mars won for 24 Karat Magic over
Kendrick.
Over Kendrick Lamar for Damned, and I was like, I think this is kind of why I'm done with the Grammys.
Yeah, like they nominate people to get them there for their show.
Yeah,
and then they give the. And again, like. Yes, it is fan voting. But you also got to look at who has access to the voting.
Yeah.
Like.
Absolutely. Are you voting on the Grammys? I'm not.
But also I have access to.
Sure.
Like the Kendrick, like for instance, that year. No, it wasn't Bruno versus Kendrick. It was the year that fucking Macklemore beat Kendrick.
Oh, for the Swimming Pools project, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was. I don't remember the exact conversation what it was. It was the year that Macklemore beat Kendrick out for a fucking Grammy, and it's like
for the Heist, though, right?
Yes.
That was Kendrick Lamar's project, The Heist.
No.
All right, that was a really solid album.
Macklemore's was The Heist.
Yes, and what was the name of Kendrick's at that point? It was the one that.
Was it To Pimp a Butterfly?
No, it was the one before that.
So then it would have been Mad City.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what it was.
So yeah, like you. Yeah. Am I discrediting the talent of Macklemore? No. But Kendrick.
But there's definitely a popularity contest. We're talking about content of music, but there's one album that will stand the test of time, and there's one that won't. Like you'll go back and listen to Mad City. I doubt you're going back and listening to The Heist by friggin' Macklemore at this point.
That and like so for Kendrick, like Kendrick speaks to the masses, but Kendrick also speaks to the streets. Macklemore doesn't speak to the streets, but not everybody on the streets has access to the internet to vote.
That's true too.
And it's like it does become a popularity contest, and that popularity contest becomes who has access to the fucking internet.
Sure.
And I think
that's true.
It's not a fair thing, and the Recording Academy doesn't allow that space for the actual winners or the actual best projects of that year to be recognized,
acknowledged. Yeah, absolutely.
And like as far as the G thing goes, I don't think he's in that conversation, but I do think as far as these things happen,
I think there was a point where I thought he was going to be in this conversation, but it never is going to happen.
Yeah, and like what I was going to say with G is like, remember when Actually, I mean, he's still doing it when Wayne was dropping Carter 1, Carter 2, Carter 3, Carter 4, Carter 5.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm hoping is, like, am I saying like Wayne's I'm Not a Human Being, I'm Not a Human Being 2, Rebirth,
Yeah, the dedication mixtapes.
yeah, am I saying those projects in between weren't great? No, because a lot of them were.
For sure.
But when he came with the Carters, he killed it. When
he came back to that style.
Right. When
Like,
Jay-Z, right, when Jay-Z did the Blueprint 2, the Blueprint
3. Yeah, absolutely. He came back to.
Right. I'm not saying his projects in between weren't great, but
sure.
It wasn't the Blueprint.
It wasn't the style. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. What I'm hoping for G is that he comes back to that style to bring out the G that people love and
the people that he came up with.
Right. And the style that people know him for, and he kills it, and it becomes, these things happen, becomes his Carter, his Blueprint.
Yeah, I would love to see it. That would be great to see. I would be pleasantly surprised. But I think at this point with G-Eazy, man, I hope that's the case. Because I like listening to good music. I'm not hoping for this guy to fall off by any means. I'm not hoping that he puts out bad music. But I think to this point, I'm gonna expect the least and hope for the best.
That's fair. So when it comes to your music consumption these days, because you haven't been behind the boards in a minute, right? It's been like since 2019 since we were able to play shows.
Yep, since before COVID.
Yeah, so it's been a minute, and obviously we're trying to get you back out here for some.
Yeah, of course. If that time ever lines up, hopefully we can make something happen here soon.
Yeah. Would love for you to come out next month, but it's not in the cards, so we'll make it work when there's a full length run.
Yeah, for sure. We'll make it happen.
But with that being said, how, like, because you haven't been on the board, so you're not consuming music in the same way that you used to. How do you consume music these days? Like, as a consumer, for the artists that are out there listening, how do you consume music? Do you listen to albums front to back? Do you listen to singles? Do you listen to playlists? Like, what is your consumption style?
Yeah, so really the way that I listen to music is from album from cover to cover. Not because I think that's the way that you as a person should be consuming music, because that's the way it should be, or you should absolutely be doing that at all times. Mm-hmm. But my belief is that an artist puts out, formulates, structures their project around it to be a full LP. And that LP is the art, not just the individual song or singles within that LP. And how these songs blend together and how they transition, that is the style of music that I enjoy consuming. So whether I am pulling an album from, whoever the hell it is, if I'm pulling it from Disturbed or Drake or Kanye or, whoever the hell it is, Little Uzi Vert, or I don't know, God, whoever the hell else I'm listening to. I guess I've been listening to a lot of 21 Savage recently.
I like that.
I've been pleasantly surprised. I really wrote him off.
Dude,
like, because he came up in that same kind of time that like Yachty and like Lil Uzi Vert were coming up in that whole, quote unquote mumble rap style. So I don't know. I kind of wrote him off to think, okay, well, this guy just fits in that bill. Yeah, not at all. This guy is pretty solid. Yeah, is he a little monotone on some of his shit? Yeah, but that doesn't discredit the bars.
Right.
So, yeah, I've been listening to him quite a bit. I think I didn't give him the respect that he deserved at the start of his career.
I agree.
Yeah, I think as far as getting back to your original question, I'm consuming music cover to cover at this point. I look for new releases that come out, and I check and see how that music works. That's what's in my earphones as I'm drafting at work.
Fair.
That and podcasts.
That's fair. I respect that. I think I'm in the same boat with 21 Savage. He came up in an era where I was like, he's a mumble rapper.
I just wrote him off.
Yeah, and now I've dove in. I'm like, oh shit, he don't mumble at all. He's got bars.
It was
like you said, he does come monotone.
It was that freshman XL class.
Yeah, and like you said, he does come monotonous at times, but also so the fuck did 50 Cent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who gives a shit?
I mean, yeah.
If that's your style, that's your style.
Yeah. Here's the time in the podcast where we take a break for a shot.
Oh, buddy. Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers, my guy.
Welcome to brunch. So, after the shot, we always
I'm
go.
just gonna pour more.
Respect. I should probably do that too. Pour myself a little bit more.
Yes.
You ever seen the podcast Drink Champs?
I have not.
Dude, dive into that. It's Drink
Okay.
Champs. I can't remember the host's name. He's like a hip hop legend. I can't remember his fucking name though. He's had hits throughout the years. They've got like a few hundred episodes. They have an episode with T-Pain. The one with T-Pain is fucking hilarious.
Okay.
They have an episode with Ace Hood. They have an episode with DMX. They have an episode with Russ.
Nice.
It's a solid podcast, dude. Like they progressively get more drunk throughout the podcast.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and their whole thing is about giving artists their flowers while they're still here.
Sure.
So I think it's a dope thing. My goal is to eventually be on Drink Champs one day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good goal to have.
100%. But while we're talking about the Drink Champs, we're talking about taking a shot. Everybody that drinks gets the munchies. What does your drunk munchie go to?
Oh God. My drunk munchie go-to.
I honestly don't know the answer to this question for myself because I've seen you fucking be drunk and audible every single time.
Yeah. It depends on the day. I think recently in recent years, DoorDash has become such an accessible thing for me to say, okay, well, I'm a little fucked up. So yeah, I can order from wherever the hell I want to. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be that one thing because anything can just show up to my door in 2021. But I think recently it's been Taco Bell, man. Unfortunately, It's been Taco Bell. Dude, the problem is it just goes down easy when you're drinking.
It doesn't come out easy.
What it is. It's super. Yeah, it does not come out easy. Nobody said it came out easy. But as far as I don't know, there's just something about having a taco after you drink. It's just like, man, this is banging.
I can't knock that.
I think the people in the world just need to eat more tacos. I think that really what it comes down to.
Like, I'm not discouraging
how mad everybody in the world is right now. Have you ever seen somebody eating a taco and being upset?
No,
because the tacos are fucking magical. Why the hell would you? Why would you need anything else? You're happy if you're eating a taco. People just eat tacos, man. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, you're not wrong. I've never seen somebody that's fucking upset eating a taco.
No, it's just not something that happens. I've seen people pissed eating pizza. I've seen people pissed eating wings. I've seen people pissed eating a burger. I've seen people pissed eating a burger.
I've never seen people pissed eating wings.
Generally, when I say that, it's while they're watching a sporting event or something at a bar.
Oh, that's
or
fair.
Something along those lines. I specifically recall the one UFC fight that we went to in our hometown where,
that bar that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that bar that doesn't exist anymore. That we went to there and that fight didn't go some way for a lot of people. A lot of people eating those wings were pretty upset, and that's what I'm referencing to.
That's fair.
At the time frame. But
that's a fair assessment. I think for me, my go-to drunk food is I do like the taco choice. I do love a chicken taco.
Sure, absolutely. But your choice is chicken tenders.
Not when I'm drunk these days.
Chicken patties?
Sometimes, yeah. But I gotta say, like these days, I've navigated like when I'm drunk towards like spicy.
Okay, that's fair.
So like, I've navigated towards like buffalo chicken wraps when I'm drunk.
Yeah, I could see that. You've always been a buffalo chicken wrap guy.
I love a buffalo chicken wrap.
Can I get a buffalo chicken wrap with just buffalo
chicken and lettuce
and hot sauce?
Lots of hot sauce.
And nothing else. Yeah, that's a frequent order for Ryan whenever we go out to eat. There's always a modification for something that has to be done to the food because Ryan's got the palate of a 7-year-old, but that's okay.
I'm the world's pickiest eater for one, and two, like I can't digest beef, I can't digest pork.
Sure.
Hence the fucking narrow ass shoulders.
Touche, sir.
Scrawniness, but still catch these hands.
Yeah, well, fuck. So okay.
So
Yeah, I think that's a
tacos. But
yeah, yes, sir.
I gotta we're gonna circle back around here, and this is an important thing that I don't think a lot of people speak enough about in general. I don't think people speak about mental health in general, but then like
absolutely.
the way that Kanye is ridiculed in the public eye, and nobody talks about his mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, everybody picks on Kanye for running for president and this and this and this and that. You know, the blow-ups that he has on stage and the things coming out of line, but nobody really addresses the fact that,
this man
Kanye is bipolar. This man does need mental help. And it's, if you listen to Donda, he's kind of screaming for it. He's like absolutely screaming for it all over the album. Like, I'm having issues and I need help.
Yeah. And
it's just,
yeah, he screams for the help, but also like I'm confused by him because he has the access to the help, but he also doesn't take it.
Sure, absolutely. And we don't know what Kanye has going on as far as
I was listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan and Kanye, and Kanye explained that the reason he doesn't take his bipolar meds is his paranoia with the shit that happened to his mom following her plastic surgery. Like he said he doesn't trust doctors.
Sure.
Says that they will prescribe. In his head, he's paranoid that they will prescribe him something that will kill him.
It's not a bad paranoia to have, honestly.
And I understand the paranoia, but also like I'm not discrediting him one way or another. I'm not conflicting his thought process. I don't know what it's like to be bipolar. I don't know what it's like to be in that mind state.
But neither do I.
Yeah, but if you have a wife and babies like depending on you to like be okay, I feel like I would find a doctor that I trusted to get me right.
Definitely. Yeah. You would be able to find somebody, even if it's not, if he's got a problem with typical, Western medicine, even finding something in like, some kind of meditation or something along those lines, like,
if it was me, I would self-research and find a medication and be like, hey doc, prescribe me this.
Yeah. Like, hey, I feel like this would be great for me. I don't really want to have something else, that access is available to be able to find those things. We have this beautiful tool called the internet that you can literally look up anything. I 100% agree.
But there's also something to be said about though he is mentally ill, the brilliance that does come out of him.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as far as his musical catalog is, oh gosh, I think it's pretty legit at this point.
And I do think there is something to be said too about, yes, that people call him crazy.
Yeah. There was, what was that? Was that on my Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, or was that on Life of Pablo, where he said name one genius that isn't crazy?
That was Pablo.
Yeah. Pablo. I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that fits.
But like there's something to be said about like, sure, he may be mentally ill, but people who think outside of normality, normal mind states are considered to be crazy. And I'm not. Yes, he has shown all the signs of having bipolar, having mental illness, and he may not. And a lot of people are very fast thinkers to where they're not great public speakers.
Sure.
But if he was to slow his mind down to be able to get his point across and be elaborate with it, I don't think people will find him that crazy, because I think there is a little bit of underlying truth to some of the things he says.
Yeah, I don't think that everything that he says is just straight off the top obnoxious. Like, I think the reality is that anything that anybody is saying has some kind of legitimacy to it, as long as it's coming from a pure place, right? So if you're coming from a place where you feel like you're saying this from your heart, no matter what it sounds, there's got to be some kind of foundation or basis to this. I think the problem is I see a lot is I think his political stances don't align with the people that are actually advocating for mental health right now.
Sure.
So I think those people that are advocating for mental health are not advocating for Kanye because of that.
I agree.
And I think that's a little fucked up. Like, I don't know. The society as a whole has generally shifted in the last, I would want to say, 5 to 10 years to actually start taking mental health seriously. To say, okay, you know,
Finally.
we're not going to just write off. Yeah, exactly. Finally, about time. But I think if these people generally line up with pretty democratic values, and if you don't line up with those democratic values, it's really easy to write off these people and say, well, you don't fit in the plans for the agenda going forward, so we're not going to really support you in getting the help that you need.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of people make jokes about this guy on the internet and stuff like that, but if it came from someone that probably, you know, was not a Trump supporter, I think it would probably come off in a little different light of the people that would support him for this kind of things. Unfortunately, everything is politicized, but that's, you know, that's a topic for another conversation.
Yeah. Like,
But
I do think like I think you're right. Like I think it comes down to Kanye. Does he say some off the wall shit? Yeah, like that fucking
all the time.
That slavery is a choice thing, like that was fucking off the wall. That was dumb.
Yeah, to me that sounds like a choice. I was like,
that's dumb.
What the fuck is going on here? I mean,
yeah, like
shit.
that's flat out dumb.
Yeah, that's just. What do you mean this is a choice? These people are literally like, their lives are taken away from them.
But there is like other points that he has about society and about specifically the press.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Like, the way media is portrayed.
He has a point. Like, do I think that the press may have contributed to his crazy? 100%.
Definitely.
Like the average person needs to understand whether this is Kanye. Like Eminem went through the fucking same shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if you are the human beings are not meant to be fucking worshipped.
No way, shape, or form. Absolutely.
So when you're literally trying to go to a fucking restaurant and order a burger for you and your kid, when you're in a fucking public restroom and people are trying to ask you to get a fucking autograph, that will fuck with anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone. And
there's no person that's just going to be able to handle not being able to be their genuine selves.
Yeah, and like when you like there is a breaking point for everyone, and when there's cameras in your face all the time, there's press in your face all the fucking time. No, and you know, as the person that the press is seeking out, knowing they're going to try to twist your words to fit their agenda, to fit
a message,
to fit a story, to get for clickbait, literally.
Yeah, literally clickbait.
There's going to be mental repercussions there.
Of course. I mean, I think we see it all the time in child stars. I think it doesn't necessarily see it often with adults, but I mean, you know, we watched Miley Cyrus go crazy for a couple of years. We've watched Justin Bieber go off the deep end. Like we watched, you know, Lindsay Lohan go off the deep end. This is people that, you know, in their formative development, you know, where we see issues with how the press reacts to them and how they handle this fame. I think Kanye is one of these people. I'm not saying Kanye only has the mental capacity of a child. That's not what I'm getting at here. But I think it gives any given point that you're capable of going through something. I think any human being is capable of going through that at any point in their lives.
And every human being is capable of snapping.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when not only is it just in front of you, but then your wife has a reality TV show where you're literally on a camera 24/7 when you have to be on Keeping Kardashians when snaps like this. I mean, I don't think there's some coincidence that these people, you know, are just going off the deep end when this happens. 100%. It's one thing if you were raised in it, it's another thing to try to adapt to it.
Like, speak on this from like your own perspective. Like, that's the thing we like to do on here is bring pop culture topics to real life. Right?
Sure.
So speak on this from your own perspective. You share an opinion on social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
All hell breaks loose.
This has happened. This has happened to me before. Yeah, absolutely.
The same thing's happened to me. But like you share a
Yeah.
political opinion and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
I know like my opinion and I'll share it in a second. But what happens in your psyche when you see all hell break loose, when you share one political opinion or one view or on anything, you share one thing that's not a fucking funny meme. You share one thing that could have an opinion on it. What does that do to your psyche the next time you think about posting something?
You're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be posting this because I don't want to, upset anyone. And that's at least how I think about things. I'm like, I remember I had posted something about addiction back a couple of years ago, and it just blew up all day long, and I couldn't stop it. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm never touching this with a 10-foot pole again, just because I don't want to have to deal with this.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that, you shouldn't speak up for the people that can't. Like, I think that's kind of what platforms are made for. But yeah, it definitely affects the way that I think of things. Of like, okay, well, I need to be able to phrase this in something that isn't going to piss off as many people, or something along those lines, or I'd be more neutral about something rather than being more I do my best to try to, especially when it comes to social media, not try to incite conflict anymore. I definitely feel like there was a point in my life where I was just like, yeah, well, I'm gonna stir the pot on this no matter where I'm gonna go, because I like to see this shit.
Yeah.
But I think as of recently, it's been very much, if I'm sharing my opinion, I share it in a light where it's not trying to demean somebody. It's not trying to subject anybody to any kind of feel some type of way about how I feel about them.
Right.
Because the reality is everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and everybody believes in different things based on their own life experience. So I've
100%.
never been in their life experience. So how am I to judge?
100%. And now, like, think about, like, that's your experience as a person who, again, not trying to diminish or demean your pull, your draw, your interactions, but coming from, say, for instance, is Facebook, the maximum amount of people you can have on your fucking list is 5,000 people.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's what happens to the psyche in a person that can have maximum 5,000 people interact.
Yeah.
Imagine the psyche of a person who can have millions and billions at a time interact on multiple different platforms.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that sounds horrible. You just make one comment and then all of a sudden everyone in the world is against you.
You make one comment and the world's against you on anything. You could literally post, I took a shit today on Twitter, and it coincides with the timing of something else that happened, and automatically you have millions of people thinking you're fucking subliminally saying something else.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Like, I don't think that one, the accessibility is healthy.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with somebody else recently. It's the world created social media, but are people ready for social media? Are people ready to be able to be faceless in these conversations? Because that's essentially what it's able to do.
No, people aren't ready for that. Like, the accessibility is not a thing that's ingrained in humans naturally.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's literally, people are posting things and getting literal dopamine rushes from, seeing likes and comments come onto their content. Like, this is literal dopamine. This is quite literally a drug at this point.
Yeah, and especially when you can literally Google something, you can type in. Okay, so for instance, I'm gonna fucking dumb this down. Like, I have an orange juice thing right here, so this isn't coming from out of anywhere. You can type into Google, is orange juice good for you? Right? Type in, is orange juice good for you? And you're going to get 5 to 10 different sites of why orange juice is good for you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, you can type in, is orange juice bad for you? And you're going to get 5 to 10 different sites of why orange juice is fucking bad for you.
Yeah, you see what you want to believe. That's really what it comes down to.
Literally, based on what you type, you're going to get the information that you want to receive. And everything's an opinion piece.
Exactly.
Nothing is factual. Everything's fucking bad for you. Everything's fucking good for you. Who the fuck do you actually believe?
Yeah, it's a there's a reason that, especially news outlets right now are at all-time lows for, trust ratings. It's hard to know what to believe anywhere at this point. I feel like there was a point in time where it was a little more black and white, where people just accepted everything that they saw based
Yeah.
on what the television fed them, and everybody that watched this TV station was right, and everybody that watched this TV station was wrong, and vice versa.
Yep.
And it's now we are understanding that there's an area of shaded gray as a society, but still trying to decipher through the bullshit.
So up until probably what, eighth or ninth grade, we had the same education experience.
Yeah, through freshman year, that's when I left.
So when you obviously like when you left our education, we were still in the same state, not that far apart.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can you speak on like what your education experience was when it came to learning about not so much politics, but when it came to learning about like the world, like when it came to learning about how
Sure.
how people interact, how information is spread, how information is relayed, that type of thing.
Sure. I felt like my global teacher actually did a really nice job with us of trying to educate us in that, like, just understanding, keeping us up in current politics and the world, and understanding why events happened and the trickle down effect of how these things happen. I thought he did a really awesome job at that. The guy was also my basketball coach. I consider him to be a huge mentor. He saved my life one time. Yeah, he was he is to this day an incredible person. Very thankful to have him in my life. But I think the overwhelming majority of us would say that we were never really prepared for the real world in high school. So I think there was a lot of bullshit that we learned that I'll still never use to this day, that, I was told that I need to know this in order to be successful, that has no implication on my daily life.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, still saying that, looking back, and the things that I use every day as a surveyor, I wish I paid attention in math more. I wish I didn't, goof off when I was going through the stuff that I needed to know for trig that I use on a daily basis now.
Right.
So I had a better foundation in that stuff. But yeah, do I think there was a bunch of bullcrap that we could have specialized in depending on where we wanted to go in our lives and gotten rid of and maybe focused on other life skills? Absolutely. I think education reform is definitely something that needs to happen.
I agree. And I think this is something Bobby and I have talked about on a few other episodes. And it's like, am I discrediting the whole education system?
No.
Not at all. There's brilliant teachers, brilliant people out there who do their damn best.
Absolutely. But I think as a whole, the education system has failed America at this point.
That, and I think like, as far as like the ability to, I'm not even saying about like what's taught at this point. I'm saying like the ability to dissect information for ourselves.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. To be able to, dissect spin from fact, right? Like that's what it comes down to. Figuring out where these are and what information this comes from. Yeah. And why is this information being conveyed in the way that it is? Why is this information being conveyed to be this spin? Is it to get across the point of this fact for this demographic of people? Is it to get across this point for a different understanding or perspective, to give somebody a different understanding or perspective of things? Because you could write the exact same article that portrays the exact same information 100 different ways, depending on whoever you want to read it.
Right. And that's what I mean, is like, we were, as far as like, and again, everybody's education experience is completely fucking different. Absolutely. But in my experience, it was, this is right because this is what I say is right. And if you counteract this, you are disrupting.
Yeah, exactly. That's.
And I think there has to be a space where people are allowed to question things.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
As we've learned over the past few years, things that they necessarily taught us to be true weren't necessarily true.
Yeah, of course.
And things that they taught us to, like, for instance, very fucking cliche one, Christopher Columbus.
Oh yeah, what a shitbag of a human being that dude was.
That's what I'm saying. Is like they taught
But we
us like,
celebrated Columbus Day every day growing up, or
right.
every year growing
They
up.
taught us all these fucking songs about him. They taught us all these fucking pivotal points about him. But never once did they say he was a shitbag.
Yeah, never once did they say that he was just raping and pillaging women, or villages left and right, destroying people's lives, and just being an absolutely terrible human being. Nobody conveyed that information to us when we were kids. All we got was the glorification of how amazing Christopher Columbus was to discover the quote unquote new world.
Right.
So like, that was the spin that we got.
Yeah, and like if you look at it, like especially now with the social media age, that's, in my opinion, again, like I'm not a fucking professor, I'm not a fucking genius, but in my observations, that's why there's so much of a fucking divide, because people see one piece of information, they were taught, you dissect a piece of information, this is how it's true. And Absolutely. Same thing for both sides.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what side you're on. You're taught to dissect a piece of information. You're taught to write a report on the piece of information, and you're going to be tested on it later.
Mm-hmm.
How can you leave room for what's true and what's not?
You don't, because it's depending on the person that's grading your papers, the person that's guiding your grade. So it's like, I don't know, that's the spin that you have to portray regardless.
Exactly.
If you have an economics professor in college and you write the paper based on how the price of tea in China has fell, you can't write it based on what's happened in Israel because of something else that's going on. You have to write on it based on economic fact. Whereas you go to a political science professor and you write the exact same paper, they're going to tell you, why the hell didn't you write about the situation in Israel?
Exactly.
Not being things that are actually true, but just for example.
Right. 100%. You are spot on. And we have reached the point where the waiter or waitress in brunch is coming to check on us, see if we need drinks.
Oh, nice. I should have got one of those.
Yeah. So here we see, do we need a refill or do we take a shot?
I think we need a refill.
Okay.
I think there's more to dive into here.
So we pour a drink. But after the drink, we take a shot.
Oh shit! Okay, it's gonna be one of those nights.
Because we typically, when we do brunch, we order the drinks and we order a round of shots with brunch.
Touche.
So, drink has been filled. Oh, you just do your straight shot.
Yeah, I've just been drinking whiskey all night, so like, it's kind of.
Respect. I'll just do mine out the bottle then. Come on.
Yes, sir. Respect.
Ooh, it's so smooth but so strong at the same time. Double aged for extra smoothness.
Ooh. I'll have to check that out when I come out, man.
It's pretty solid. It's my first time trying it. I like to try different kinds. I was established 1846. Is it one that I would consider a go-to? Absolutely not.
Sure.
Would I drink it again?
Then you'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Would I try it again? Yeah. Would I try it again with something other than orange juice? Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know why you decided you would to do whiskey with orange juice today.
Because my consideration for this was the fact that I've been sick and I needed the vitamin C.
I need the little and that little heat to help get that stuff out of your nose. It doesn't hurt either. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I definitely went with the medicinal route here of the old school whiskey medicine and the vitamin C to try to kick this out my system. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be fine,
Yeah, good way to look at it, man.
I'm just trying to be healthy out here. I might have October. I have a few weeks to get healthy before I go to Nashville.
Sure. So I didn't know how much you wanted to tell your followers about what you have going on in your personal life, but does your fan base know what the next move is for you right now, or what's
going on? They know some of them. Okay. Some of them. They know that October 3rd and October 4th. October 3rd, I'm playing in Minneapolis, opening for Dax.
Okay.
October 4th, I'm in Iowa City, opening for Dax. And then this is new to the podcast. I just locked in a show yesterday, and September 24th in Iowa City, I'll be opening for Afro Man.
Hey.
Cause I got high.
So
that'll be a good time. Yeah,
That's
so
awesome, man.
I just locked in that date. So by the time that this one drops, my remix of In My Head with Mark Battles will be out. That comes out tonight.
Mark Battles.
That comes out tonight at midnight.
Nice.
And that's going to be a big move. He's pretty big. He just dropped a track. Had a track with Kevin Gates that just hit 1 million plays. And a few weeks ago, he just dropped a song with Wale.
Wale for Laura.
And he just announced that he's got a track in the vault with Benny the Butcher.
Nice. That's awesome.
So that track with Mark Battles is going to hopefully do some numbers.
I've always been a big fan of Battles, man. I thought he was always a little under the radar for how well he was doing in the music industry, in my personal opinion.
He's about to pop. He's got quite a few records with Tory Lanez.
Yeah.
I'm not going to promise the podcast listeners this yet, but I will say that it's in discussions that Battles may be making an appearance on the brunch.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be really awesome to get him on.
But as we progress into this, after we finish the waitress clearing of the plates, bringing us our next drink, we break into our next topic. DJ T-Rex.
Where?
That's his signature. He loves that fucking button.
The problem is I get on the air horn too much and it gets really obnoxious, which was great for me.
That button.
Because per beer it gets worse, and all I do is drink one DJ, so it works out great.
Yes, we're going to take a trip down memory lane. Okay. We are going to talk about the album release party in 2017 that we had in Binghamton, New York. When I dropped the album Roots.
Yes.
The second time we charted, the first time we knew that we were actually probably going to chart. The first time we charted was a complete fucking surprise.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I had no idea we were going to chart the first time. I checked I was on my fucking couch high as shit the first time. I looked at the fucking iTunes chart, just wondering, like, hey, I wonder if I fucking hit this shit. And I was like, oh, fuck. I'm too high to celebrate. So the next time I was like, okay, like, we might do this, right? So we have the album release party. And unfortunately, it was the same night that Mac Miller died.
Yes, this is very true.
So it was a somber night until the show. Then we were like, all right, like, one, we're gonna celebrate the album. Two, we're gonna celebrate Mac. We're gonna have a fucking time. We had the homies, the Wright brothers from Maryland, come out to open the show. My homie Fett opened the show. My homie Jaquan came out, played a few of our collabs together. But on he's smirking because he knows where I'm going with this.
That I do.
So we received word that night that we were charting, and we cracked the top 75, which was the first time we had ever done that. Well, we had cracked the top 50, which is the first time we'd ever done that.
Yeah.
And Tyler's like, okay, like he was already lit. He's like, we're gonna turn it all the way the fuck up.
So we're raging.
And I just gotta ask. I will probably, if I can find it, it's in the archives. I will pull the video clip up for the YouTube part of this. There is this fucking dance move that you're doing, bro.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't know what it was. Your back was at your fucking ankles.
Yeah,
and
I don't know how
we're
I was
doing like the
off.
stanky leg, both of them at the same time.
It was some weird shit. It was a night band. I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
Coach Walker, I gotta know what was happening here. Give the play-by-play.
So I would say the play-by-play of the situation was we were this was kind of after Riot Set was over, and I was at a point where we were just kind of had an open mic at this point. So there was these people that were coming up to me, and we're just kind of raging at this point. We're just having a good time. I'm just playing music, and these people are coming up freestyling on the mic, and I was like, all right, sure, sounds good, let's go. So I've had a couple too many at this point for sure, and I come out from behind the booth and start dancing on the stage, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? But I didn't give a shit. I was too drunk to care. But there was this one kid that came up, and he offered. I was just letting anybody come up and get on the
Good
mic
thing.
if they wanted to. Like I didn't care. We were partying. We were charting, man. Like it was the first time that we were
Yeah,
like,
we were raging.
yeah, we were having a blast. And this one kid come up, he's like, "I'll pay you to get on the mic," and I was like,
How much?
"Okay, what do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll pay you." And I was like, "I'll just play an instrumental," which is what I've been doing for like the past 20 minutes.
Anyways, yeah.
And he's like, he's like, "How much you want?" I was like, $100. And sure as shit, this kid pulled out $100 and gave it to me, and I just played another instrumental, and he had a good time. And the song was over. He came back. He's like, "How about another one?" And I'm drunk as shit at this point. You know, I'm dancing on stage. I'm like, "How about another $100?"
Another one.
Yeah, so
JT Rex pulling out his DJ Khaled shit.
I was doing that shit for free that night. You know, I didn't care. It was all the homies. It was all people that we fucked with. So I was.
You pulled home more money that night than I did.
Yeah, right. Shit, we were partying. You know, I didn't give a fuck. But I walked out of the bar with the wrong backpack, and I
almost got some people severely hurt.
Yeah, I had the sound guy's backpack instead of my backpack. They were the same backpack to be fair, but I was too drunk to care, dude. Look, I was just like, yeah, it looks like my bag. I'm taking it.
And a little side note, the sound guy had more than his sound equipment in the bag, hence why someone almost got hurt.
There was a lot of equipment in that bag, so there was interesting stuff going on there.
Yeah, Tyler and his Tyler was too drunk to come back to bring the backpack, but his now wife brought the backpack back.
Yeah,
she's not happy.
She was not happy with me that night. Nah,
she was not thrilled. She was not impressed. To be honest, I'm surprised we're allowed to still hang out.
Yeah, she had to walk that back to the bar that night
by herself.
By herself.
In a sketchy ass area after some big ass
pretty sketchy
event.
part of town. Was that the night of what was that light show they had going on there at that time, Frank?
I can't remember the name of it, but there was some massive light show that was going on. So there was like,
yeah, it was pretty fucking cool though.
There was like 50,000 people downtown.
Yeah, and here goes, my now wife walking through the streets in this little tiny ass
by herself
at like 2 a.m. after I'm drunk and passed out in the car.
Mind you, she can hold her own. I can see her being a scrapper.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. But yeah, she was not happy with me the next morning. She not the slightest.
I don't think she was happy with you that night, bro.
Yeah, she wasn't happy with me that night either, but I don't remember, so it was a good time.
So yeah, it was just the next morning that you had to deal with.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It was a fucking time.
She held it down for the team that night. Shout out my wife for always taking care of my drunk ass.
Oh, 100%. So when we're on brunch, well, when anybody's in brunch, sometimes the conversation gets a little elongated, a little off topic. So I'm gonna go off topic. And I'm just gonna make a little side note. Tyler, has anybody ever told you that your speaking voice, you sound a little bit like Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen. If I only had Seth Rogen's laugh. That's the first time I've ever heard that. No, I'm down with that though. I like Seth Rogen. I think he's a really funny dude. That's the first I'm hearing this. Yeah. No.
Wait, am I thinking right? Seth Rogen, like the fucking Pineapple Express dude?
Yeah, Pineapple Express, Neighbors, Superbad.
Okay, then yeah. You sound a little bit like Seth Rogen with your speaking voice.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know. That's the first time I've ever heard that. No shit. Okay, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I will take it. So
I like Seth Rogen.
So we're gonna circle back on the pod a little bit and get a little bit more in depth in some of the conversations that we had brought up earlier, because I think it's important to speak on.
Sure.
With the whole adult friendships turning into, or child friendships turning into adult friendships, and the dynamic when with what we were initially taught based on what we've learned through traveling and becoming a parent and me becoming an influence in a young person's life. Would you ever raise a child in the small town dynamic that we grew up in?
You see, it's hard for me. The go-to line for living back home was always, "There's not much here, but it's a great place to raise a family." Um, and the question is now is it really a great place to raise a family?
I don't think so.
You see, I think it's a very sheltered backwater view of the world. I don't think it. I don't think growing up in the town that I grew up in prepared me for living in the regular world. Um, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I would hate visiting, but I
Right.
think there's a lack of there is a lack of understanding what the real world really is back where we are
It
from.
literally is like this pocket of life that's so far removed from
Yeah,
reality.
so isolated from how the world actually functions that when I went off, it didn't actually put me in a position to understand what the real world was going to be.
Yeah.
That would be my thought process for it. The other thing is lack of opportunity.
Yes.
I don't want to put my kid in a box where they your job options are work at the cheese factory down the road or go into construction.
I agree. Like for me, like with that small town mindset, I don't think that I could raise a kid there, you know?
100% agreed. Yeah, it's I won't rule the option out because I don't know what the future holds for me and my wife. I
Yeah.
would, if we got to a point in our lives where we really wanted to value, where we really valued raising our children around family, around a really strong family oriented environment, where we wanted to have my parents and Elizabeth's parents in the mix, excuse me, a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
um, we would definitely consider going back home for that
Sure.
reason, but probably for family and family alone.
Right.
That's kind of the only thing that draws me back to that area at this point,
Right. Like
because
yeah, like my family is there. My family is great. My family is like the reason that I've had the open mind that I've had because
absolutely.
I was raised in an open-minded environment.
Mhm.
But also that being said, like I don't think that I could one raise a kid there because the like I'm in an interracial relationship right now, and we were home for less than
Oh
45 minutes, and we were walking across the street, and people were yelling racial slurs.
yeah, absolutely, of
And
course.
like I don't want to subject my partner to that,
No, hell no,
and two, I don't want to subject my kids to that.
not even slightly, not even
Like
slightly.
it's not an accepting place. Like I was slightly different growing up, and I was bullied. I can't imagine growing up there not looking like everybody else.
Yeah, dear lord, that
So
sounds pretty terrible.
yeah, like I just can't. I don't think that I could. I don't think I would want to. Like also like learning what I've learned about the world outside of that area. Like I don't, and I'm not trying to shit talk where I come from. Like where I come from will
Oh,
always be,
absolutely, that will always hold a special place in my heart as well.
yeah. Like
Absolutely.
my eventual goal is to, as the music grows, as my business ventures grow, like I want to own a restaurant. I want to continue this music thing. I want to own a record label. I want to do all these things in entertainment. And my eventual goal, my ultimate goal is to, I mean, aside from create financial stability for my children and my generations to come from me,
Mhm.
my goal is to create a new type of environment for youth where I'm from.
Yeah, absolutely. Giving back to where you came from in order to better that environment for the
But
next people down the
also,
line.
I also really want to expand the cultural experience where I'm from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
No,
I want to buy out that whole fucking main street and make half of it black owned business.
yeah, absolutely. Why isn't it already? That's the real question.
Yeah, and like I understand like based on population, like that's not ideal right now, but also like it's not exactly a fucking attractive place for anybody else to be,
Touche.
you know?
There's got to be. The thing is there's got to be a reason for you to be somewhere, right?
Right.
If it's not your family, it's generally 99% of the time, it's the economy.
Yep. If it's not your family
So
and it's not a tourist
that's
space, it's the economy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. So If you are relocating to an area, there needs to be something that attracts you to be there.
Right.
So
And like,
how do you revitalize an area that has died like that? That's the real question.
Right. And I'm not like trying to like downplay or shit talk any job, because all
Sure.
jobs are necessary.
Absolutely. 100%.
And if you're doing any kind of job, like, you're contributing. And if you're doing any kind of job, like, there's people who love that job. And if you're doing what you love, like, all power to you. I'm happy for you. That's what you're supposed to be doing, is being happy.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't want to like bring people into a situation where their only opportunities is restaurants, bars, and factories.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I think that's a really good point. Is the driving force behind the American economy right now is technology. That's essentially where the American economy is being driven off of, that and banking.
And technology doesn't exist where we're from.
Not even slightly. There is no tech-based businesses based around where we're at.
Right.
But why would you start a tech-based business there? There's nobody there.
Right.
There's not people there that are willing to.
The young people leave.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody who does learn anything moves on to bigger and better things.
Right. And I can't blame them.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. That's why I left. I mean, I'm in Charlotte now.
I was just gonna say, there's a reason you and I left that town.
Yeah, and it's not anything against that town. Like I said, that town will always hold a special place in my heart. But you got to have a reason to keep people there, and unfortunately, that's just not.
Right. Like,
there's just no reason to be there unless it's for love and affection for my family.
100%, and it's always like a stepping stone thing. Like my great grandparents came from fucking Ireland and Poland.
Sure.
They came into Pennsylvania. That's where my grandparents and their family were raised, and they relocated to Waverly, and that's where my parents made their living. And then they gave me the know-how and the drive to expand on that. Like, like it's always,
of course,
there's always steps. There's always generational steps.
Definitely.
And I will never discredit that either. And there's pride in every step of the way. And I think a lot of people's pride is what prevents a lot of things from changing, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Unfortunately, the shift of an economy doesn't take pride into account.
Right.
Like, I think, we live in a post-industrial economy.
Yes.
We live in an economy that is devised by service and technology and banking, and these are the things that are carrying our nations back for its economic gain at this point.
100%.
These are where good jobs are offered, and if you don't offer those things where you are, then you're kind of subjecting somebody to live in a pretty poor lifestyle unless they're willing to start their own business. It seems like the only successful people in that town are the people that own their own businesses.
Ownership.
There's no job. Yeah, absolutely. And I got nothing but respect for everybody who runs their own business. I understand how tough that is. Like, I'm sure you understand how tough that is as a business owner yourself, running your own music and if you're on LLC, and nothing but respect for those people. But it's also not the easiest thing to do.
Not at all.
That's your way into having financial success,
and freedom.
Is to owning an own business. Like that's if that's the only method, God, you're gonna have a lot of failure. Like, there's a lot of people that try to start businesses in that town that just, they don't fail because they don't catch on and they don't pop off, or for whatever reason it is, bad business idea, wrong location, wrong product, things of these natures. But I watched my parents do that too, where they started their own business. And don't get me wrong, I love my parents to pieces, but I also watched all the heartache and effort and blood and sweat that they put into that to get to where they are now, to have a successful business.
Right.
And I saw what that took away from me, what that took away from my sister, what that took away from our family. And I told myself at a very young age, I'm never going to own a business. Because I'm not going to be the type of person that wants to bring my work home with me, which is, which was the draw for me to be able to say, okay, well, we should move away from where we're at because one, the opportunity there is so insignificant that I don't want to put my kid through that as well, where my kid has to feel like they're choosing between their family and having a good job.
Yeah. So I'm actually like, aside from us being homies, I'm glad you're here for that reason. But I'm very glad that you're on this podcast for this other reason, because we have a lot of views that align and a lot of views that don't.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm glad
we don't
that,
agree on everything for sure.
yeah, and I'm glad that you're here for that reason, because a lot of things that I preach is ownership.
Sure.
And I preach that because I come from a place of I've been an employee to multiple companies, and me as an employee, I have never felt valued, aside from one circumstance, and I'm not going to put that person's business name or person out here for personal reasons.
Of course.
But aside from that situation, I have never felt valued as an employee. I have felt like myself, I was an asset, and they treated me like somebody that was replaceable.
Yes, absolutely. You were a number.
Yeah, and I preach ownership because also from what I come from, like, not what I come from. I came from a very lucky and privileged environment. I came from a very great upbringing. I came from a place where my parents did a lot for me. And
yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day,
a lot for me.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, both you and I are always going to have white privilege on our side. Like, that's going to be something that we're never going to be able to get away from. Like,
yeah, not only that, like, I came from a place where my parents were very involved, and my parents were very, they did and do everything they can to set me up. So I'm not going to say like where I come from, but the experience that I had growing up and that I still have, like, with my mental health, like, there's times where if I was employed by someone else, if I had to tell my boss, hey, today I can't fucking get out of bed.
Yeah.
You know, my boss would be like, suck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
At pretty much any fucking job ever, my boss would be like, suck it up, come in. We need you. You're a number. You're not a human being.
Yeah, you just fit into this equation, and we need you to do this.
Yeah, and like,
yeah,
people who, like, I know I'm not the only one that's like that, and I'm not even saying like being employed is a bad thing. I'm saying for me, I'm not meant to be employed, because there's any fucking given day of the week that I'm not going to be able to get out of bed.
Sure, absolutely.
And there's any given day of the week that I am not going to be my best because my brain is fucking chaotic.
Absolutely. And that's like that has always been you, though. Like, that has always fit who you are as a person, that your income needed to be based around something that you needed to be able to create on your own terms and on your own schedule to be able to be successful, because in the conventional format, it was just never going to work for you.
Yes. And I think that's why I preach ownership so much, because
there's
a lot of people who are similar to me, who the mass population will look at people like me and people like us and be like, they're unemployable. They're not reliable. They aren't contributing. They're not shit, you know,
which has nothing to do with your work ethic. It only has to do with your ability to fit into the system.
Yeah. And it's not even like to fit into the system. It's like, some days I'm fucking fantastic for you, but there's other days where my own, like, you know how they use the term functioning alcoholic, functioning addict, there's functioning mentally ill people.
Sure.
And I fall in that category, even though, like, I'm medicated, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I still fall in that category where there's any day of the week I am not going to be able to perform for this boss.
Sure.
So,
absolutely.
And I preach ownership from the point of, if I own it, I can take this day to myself because I know I will be better tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, like, yes, for the people who, like, don't everybody has their own issues. I'm not saying I'm a fucking anomaly because I have this specific ailment, this specific issue. Everybody has their own shit. But for people like me who have this specific issue, I preach it because they aren't, you having that doesn't mean you're not employable. It doesn't mean you're not a failure. It doesn't mean you're not shit.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're a failure to society by any way, shape,
Yeah,
or
it
form.
doesn't mean that you can't make something of yourself.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Like I by all definitions am not employable, but I'm also very successful.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with your work ethic.
Yeah.
And work ethic and availability are two very different things.
Yeah, like some days I'm just not available to you, and that has everything to do with I have a mental illness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And that's
people look, if I was to have, heaven forbid, if I was to have cancer, no one would look at it twice. But because they can't see it, because it's in my brain and they can't see it,
nobody cares.
all of a sudden a fucking problem.
Yeah, nobody cares. It's you're not trying hard enough, and you are just
you're making excuses. Yeah.
Every other term in the book that you could think about for someone that basically is just lazy.
So for me, ownership is key to me providing financial freedom.
Yeah,
ownership
absolutely.
To me is key for me creating success. To me, ownership is key to me creating, when I decide to have kids and family, like providing them with stability for generations to come. And also for me, that ownership and that this platform that I have created, like with music, with, even though the podcast is just starting, with the podcast, it's to preach to people like me that you can't get out of bed today, bro. Cool. I get you. I understand.
That's
you.
Okay.
Tomorrow, fucking hit grind mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can work for yourself and still make the same kind of impact. But like you, like that, and that's why it's great that like one, having you as a homie like has always been fucking great for me. But two, like pulling you on here and having you talk to people is like there is two sides to that spectrum. There's the side where not everybody's meant to own shit. If everybody owned shit, nobody would have help.
Yeah, exactly. Not everybody is just going to be able to create their own business. Like that's just that's not something I ever have the passion to do.
And that doesn't take away from your skill. That doesn't take away from your power. That doesn't take away from anything.
Yeah, it doesn't take away from my work ethic. It doesn't take away from my character. It just means that that's not what I want for my life. I want to be able to have a family-oriented environment where I'm able to come home, leave my work at work, and be able to spend time with my kids. And you
function well.
That works for me.
Yeah, you function well in that routine.
Yes. That does well for what I want and what I'm capable out of life.
Yeah, that's your normal.
Yes, that is my normal. This is the system that I fit in. Now, fortunately for me, the system has been designed for people like me, people that can handle that. It hasn't been designed for people like you that can't have that structure and still function properly and be able to. I don't mean properly as in a negative term. No, I mean properly as in the normal, conventional 40-hour work week that was set up for a single, that was set up under the impression that a
factory
that one person was going to be able to provide enough for one household.
Right.
So, obviously that has changed, but also that's a topic for another time that we can dive into.
we can dive into all of it. We got fucking all the time in the world. We can have a 5-hour episode. I don't give a fuck.
Jesus. Hey, that is what it is.
I can literally pinpoint, like, my parents went to like this fucking couples resort when we were kids, and they had like a kids resort for the kids to hang out in while they were at the adults portion of it. And they had like this intermediate like nighttime event where the parents and kids did this one thing, and then the kids separated from the parents did their own thing, kids went to this fucking camp, right? But
sure.
The intermediate thing was like stand-up comedy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And like that was the first time that I was exposed to comedy, and I was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah, right. I love laughing. This is awesome.
But after that, like when I was after that, I did not see a stand-up comedian until Kevin Hart
Wow.
because of how mainstream it was.
Yeah, absolutely. How it just never affected the current pop culture situation.
Yeah, and now I look around and I'm like, there's open mic comedy nights all the time, which again, I think this is beautiful. I think people
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
express their art as many ways as they fucking can.
Agreed.
But now, like
Agreed.
you see it everywhere. Like there's open mic nights for stand-up comedians. There's Netflix specials for stand-up comedians. There's podcasts for stand-up comedians. There's literal like you can do like comedians put out albums where they break down their fucking special in certain things so they get royalties off it.
Yeah.
You know, like content is being mass consumed, and recordings literally are recordings. Like your record, like the main initial, like when recording shit once upon a time was created, you were recording a live performance to preserve that memory of that live performance.
Yeah.
So that has still maintained, but it's now being mass produced. So I don't know if there's any like, even though it's mass produced now, it's great that people can are accessible to it, but I don't know that it impacts the same way that it would if somebody saw it live.
That's very true.
You know?
For sure. Like, my experience with stand-up comedy was the only time I ever saw it was my parents were a big fan of cruises growing up. Like I said, I grew up in a very privileged white household where my parents made a lot of money and were able to take me on very extravagant trips as a child. I was very blessed in that regard and still very thankful for that. I went on a lot of cruise ships as a kid, and there's stand-up comedians all over these things where, you know, they always had 4 or 5 comedians on the ships that would play every night. And it was awesome to go with my parents to go watch these shows, or go with these friends that I met on the boat to go watch these shows and these stand-up comedians. That was my first experience to that. And I think it's pretty similar to you, that after that phase of my life, which happened I guess up until around middle school for me, and then that kind of stopped happening based on some financial stuff going on in my parents' life. But until Netflix really started adding stand-up comedy, I was not exposed to stand-up comedy at all. Like you said, right. Kevin Hart, that was the first one I remember where they had the Cleveland Cavaliers like all in that very first row, and Kevin Hart was there that one stand-up where LeBron was like standing up and clapping. That's like one of my like first memories of stand-up after that specific time of just being on cruise ships watching people. And I mean, this is also understanding that I was a kid at this point. There was no comedy clubs that I was getting into, not that they're available in our area anyway.
Yeah.
But even like I had before I had moved to Charlotte, there was a show that I was trying to go to in Binghamton for a very popular comedian. Gosh, I can't remember his name at the moment.
I think I remember you telling me about it.
Yeah, the show ended up getting canceled. This is even before COVID.
Oh.
But just because he was supposed to be at Binghamton, but he didn't sell enough tickets to come. That's like this is the downfall of where we grow up as well. This ties back into that same conversation of yes, we might not have been exposed to it, but the exposure is limited to based on the area we grew up in.
100%.
You know, I don't want to put my kid in that situation where I say, well, your exposure to what the world actually is going to be limited based on people coming to. It's like, you know, we were talking about it. This was back in 2014 when we started like going around doing shows together. That was the same year that J. Cole came to Rochester.
And he barely
didn't sell out Blue Cross. He didn't sell out Blue Cross.
That shit was half full.
Yeah, like, are you kidding me? This is J. Cole. This is a generational talent.
Yeah, Wiz did the same thing that same year. They ended up dropping Wiz Khalifa's ticket prices. And this was when Wiz had Taylor Gang. It was Wiz Khalifa, Juicy J, Lola Monroe, all of Taylor Gang.
Yeah,
they ended up dropping tickets to try to sell them to $10 a ticket, and they still didn't sell out.
That's nuts. Like, this is why we don't experience this, is because people are not willing to hear it. Well, people aren't willing to pay for these tickets, or people don't care enough to go, or I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's bad promotion. I don't know if it's.
Can I I might go on a little bit of a tangent here.
Please do.
So my philosophy on this, right, is in live entertainment, whether it's comedy, whether it's music, whether it's poetry, whether it's whatever this version of live, whether it's show like opera, whether it's plays, is looked at as a commodity, right?
Sure. It's not looked at as a necessity.
Right. So when we're looking at the economy of a Rochester, we're looking at the economy of a Binghamton, we're looking at the economy of a place where we're from. Look at the factories and the businesses that make money there. They make buku fucking money.
Sure.
But what do they pay people?
Yeah, it's still $10 an hour. Like
that, and that's what I'm saying is like, is this a situation where people don't want to come out and support, or is this a situation where people aren't paid enough to give back to their economy?
Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to is, everybody there is, broke into some way or form that people can't afford to go and spend money on tickets to be able to do something like this.
Right.
Because one, they have an employer that doesn't pay them enough money, or two, their employer doesn't make enough money based on the product or the environment that they're in to be able to pay their employees a living wage.
Right. And again, I don't want to turn this into a political podcast.
Oh, of course not.
But when you really look at that, the amount of money that businesses make in the area that we're from, and again, I'm not disregarding the fact that New York has obnoxious property taxes. I'm not denying that they have obnoxious income taxes. That's all real fucking shit. Taxes are obnoxious in New York, and I'm not denying that. But also, when you
of course, I mean,
when you are paying people $10 an hour for a company that's putting out $500 million a year in revenue.
Yeah.
How can you expect that $10 an hour employee to then contribute back into your local economy?
You can't. What that essentially that a business employer is doing is they're pillaging the economy. They're pillaging that area to some way, shape, and form. As like, well, we're going to take as much out of this area as we can and keep it for ourselves. And
unfortunately, that's what I think. In my opinion, again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a economic expert. I'm not a expert on anything. But in my opinion, based on what I've seen, especially when I went to college, like near Rochester, is people want to go out and do things. It's in people's human nature to want to get out and do things. It's not a thing of like, oh, I don't want to go out. I want to sit in my fucking house all day.
Yeah, nobody just wants. I mean, there are introverted people that do enjoy staying home. Let's be honest. But I think it is human nature to be social creatures.
Yeah, it's not inherently in people to be like, I want to stay inside.
Yeah, that's not the case.
They have the means to go out, like with what prices are to live there versus what they're paid.
Yeah,
their paycheck literally goes to pure survival. They don't have that extra $12 to spend on a ticket.
Yeah, you see, what's crazy is though, like, is the reason, and in my personal opinion, the reason these businesses can get away with paying these low wages to these people is because there's no competition for them in the area, right?
100%.
Like if there was competition for them in the area, I mean that too. But if there was competition in the area where you have this business that's paying $10 an hour to these workers, and then another business moved in and said, okay, well, we're going to pay $12 an hour to our guys, all those people would be like, okay, well, we're going to go here, or you can pay us more money.
Right, but there's nothing enticing those other companies to come there.
Exactly, because what is the point of being there at this point?
Right,
because it's dead.
Right, like there's not enough population for people, because the people who are going to be an asset have moved.
They've already gone. They've already left because one, they either don't want to be in the state. There's not enough opportunity for them there, or the only thing that's holding them there is their family.
Right. They've moved on because there's nothing to entice them to stay there, which in turn means there's nothing to entice that company to move in there.
So the question,
that competition.
Exactly. So what is the enticing factor that you do to be able to bring those businesses in, to be able to compete with each other, to be able to drive those wages up, to make sure that if you have people in those places that they have competition, well, I can do this skill for this company, or I can do it here or there, that they're going to pay me $4 more an hour.
Yeah, I think this is the part of this that you and I disagree on, is I think raising that wage mandatorily.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is the part where we disagree on this. I think mandatorily raising that wage where people are required to be paid a certain amount of money is one, going to raise what those people in those situations make, which will then in turn contribute to what they can spend in the economy.
Sure.
And two, I think that will also create a situation where other people who aren't paid enough for their jobs, aka nurses, aka
teachers,
everybody else is going to push to like, well, if these people are making this money, I need to make this money, or I'm going to go elsewhere.
Sure.
I think it creates a trickle down effect, and I do think like mandatorily raising those wages and those incomes for people will then in turn boost the economy, which will then in turn, in a booming economy, attracts bigger business, which then in turn attracts higher wage. And I think it's a trickle effect. And I do understand small business, and I think that's why there needs to be stipends and different rules for small business versus big business. But a lot of the people who aren't paying is big business.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. The people that are the people that people are complaining about when we're not talking about paying a living wage to people isn't your mom and pop shop that is trying to set up and doing everything that they can to get by, and they have 2 employees that are helping them get by. These are not the people we're talking about. We're talking about the people that have 10,000 employees that do everything they can to make sure they don't get paid.
I've worked for multiple mom and pop shops, and they've all paid me better than a big employer.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I in my industry, I work for what is considered to be a relatively small business. You know, I was on board with these guys when they were about 50 people. We've expanded to about 200 now, and I'm very grateful for that. It very much feels like a environment where I am very valued, and not just a number, but a human being. And you know, my superiors, the people that are in charge of me and what I make, very much care about my livelihood, and you know how my life is affected by things, by how my life is affected by my wage. So I personally feel like in order to run a successful business, what you got to do is make sure that your employees always feel like they're making too much money.
Right.
Like, holy shit, these guys are paying me so much money. I better work my fucking ass off for these dudes, because if they're paying me this much, I got to make sure I produce, right?
100%.
And that's where it's come from for me, for the people that I work for. It's like, damn, like I feel so overly appreciated here that I'm going to do everything I can to bust my ass to make sure that I get everything done and do it to the best of my ability that I can. That's how you create a workspace and an environment where people thrive, where people want to work hard for you. It's not just saying, oh, well, you got to work hard because you got to, you know, move your way up through the system.
No, and the thing that bothers me so much is that when people are like, well, you work fast food, like minimum skill equals minimum wage. And like that, like to somebody
to this day, fast food is the hardest job I've ever worked. I don't care what nobody says.
That, and like somebody like me who has like legit dietary restrictions, I want somebody in a kitchen who's going to take pride in what the fuck they're cooking me, because if they don't, I'm going to be sick for days.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you can say minimum skill, minimum wage all you want, like, but like one thing that kills me about fast food is like, I started in McDonald's when I was 16. That was my first job.
Yeah.
And I had this. Yeah, right. Same shit. Like, you know how if you give a shit about your job and you want to do that shit well, do you understand how stressful that is?
That shit's
like literally having a timer on the amount of shit that you can do and be like, okay, well, you got to get this done in this amount of time, and you have to have this moving around and these pieces and parts working. That is not something that just your everyday American can handle if you care about it.
I've worked pure commission in car sales, phone sales, and my own business, and I've never had a more stressful job than fast food.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've never come home from a business with in like a shattered mindset other than working fast food. Literally. Now that might have been a product of the fact that I was still a 16-year-old kid and had some growing up and you know, some manning up to do in that time frame.
Oh, but I was 20.
Like,
it's fine.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like
it doesn't change with age.
Yeah, that was even like the job that I had when I was coming home from college. Like I worked at a pizzeria, and that shit was fucking tough. If you give a shit about your job and you're working and doing the best of your ability, it is not easy work. So to sit here and say minimum skill, minimum wage, yeah, try putting, this 65-year-old dude on this, on a fast food line and try to tell him to keep up and tell me that's minimum skill, minimum wage.
Right. That and like,
yeah,
100%, dude. And that and like the whole like minimum skill, minimum wage bullshit is like the people that you are saying minimum skill, minimum wage to are people that you are going to for a service.
Yeah, exactly. You are still using this business.
Right. Like you still use this for your convenience.
Yeah, you are still going through the McDonald's drive-through.
Right.
You're yelling in their you're yelling in these people's face that like, yeah, like you're not worth any more than what you're doing right now.
Right. Like you're the fucking like the drive-throughs or like the can redemption places. Like you're still going there to fucking get your own money.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it's crazy to me.
It doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me at all. And like I'm not a fucking expert, but it just makes common sense to me. The more money people make, the more money people spend.
Oh yeah, any which way you look at it, that's true.
Look at the fucking science of credit cards. They're a fucking toxic fucking thing. They're a trap. But look at the science of credit cards. You have that money available, you spend it.
Yeah, I mean,
same thing goes for the honest
economy. Truth.
Same thing will go for the economy.
Yeah, absolutely. If you make the more money you make, the more money you spend. That is a fact that any person will agree with you with.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. But again, not trying to make this a fucking political podcast. So I digress. And on that note, we will go into fucking story time after this shot. Fucking, we're gonna drink a bottle of whiskey tonight. I'm with it.
Yeah, I'm in for it. It is what it is. I gotta go to the DMV tomorrow and get my North Carolina license. Should be a good time. Yeah. Yeah, I can go buy guns now.
There you go. Give us a detailed description of one of your most blurry yet epic tour memories. No,
my favorite tour memory is Ryan in Los Angeles.
Oh God, of course.
On the tour that I was on him with. This was not as much my fuzzy memory as much as it was Ryan's fuzzy memory. So
I don't remember
like
shit.
We had stated earlier in the podcast. Yeah, like I said, we stated earlier in the podcast. We were going on to so with the bar prices being so ridiculous and us not having any money to be able to handle these expenses, we decided, fuck it, we're just gonna go to the liquor store. We're gonna get a bottle. Generally, it's pretty well accepted in most venues that if an artist brings something in as far as liquor or drinks for themselves that they can bring with them into the venue, that's pretty standard. We got back to the venue and the bouncers were like, "You're not bringing that bottle in here." And Ryan had a bottle of Jägermeister, and he said, "All right, sounds good." And he sat down right in front of the venue, right next to the bouncer, and drank the entire freaking bottle of Jägermeister. And he said, "Nope, I'm drinking the whole thing right here. No, if I can't bring it in, I don't give a fuck. I'm getting this done." And keep in mind, at this time, Los Angeles was not a popular crowd for us. We didn't have a lot of fans in LA at that specific time frame.
First time playing there ever.
First time playing there ever.
Our
fan base was really, the Midwest. Absolutely, it was the Midwest part of that tour that we were really expecting to see a lot of people there for us. So Ryan was like, fuck it, I'm gonna make new fans. I'm gonna give a shit, and I'm gonna get up there at stage drunk as fuck, and we're gonna make it happen. And the first tour ever. Ryan's come a long way since then, but Ryan was belligerently hammered up on the stage, and he yells out to the crowd, "How many people have heard of Ryan Brunson before?" And no one says anything, and he shouts back at the crowd, "Crickets!"
I forgot that. Yeah, I was definitely blacked out.
I'm sure, obviously, obviously Ryan has fans in Los Angeles since then, this is a very long time ago. But yeah, that's probably tour memory number one for me. As far as a brownout night for me, we went to a show in Oakland, and actually I think that same week, and I got
it was literally it was the
cut
night
off
before that one.
Yeah, I got cut off at the bar, and I said, "Yeah, can I get another drink?" They looked at me and said, "No," and I said, "Okay." So I went back and grabbed Ryan. I'm like, "Hey, can you go to the bar and buy me a drink?"
He handed me his card because my ass was broke.
Yeah, like, take my card and go get me another drink.
Buy another fucking round. I reopened the tab, and we ended up back at that fucking place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember the end of that night, but from what I do remember, I remember the opening, the act got on stage, and I was the only one screaming in the audience.
Yes, but also to that testament.
So it was a great time.
Yes, but to that testament, bringing this full circle, and again, I'm going to bring up part of this full circle thing in a segment in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But this is that first show that we had accidentally figured out that staying afterwards to mingle with the crowd was going to bring us our best merch sales. This was
bring us actual interest.
That networking and talking to the artists on the shows with us was going to bring us connections, and like us just being our fucking selves. Tyler opening it up, being like, "This is our second night on tour, dude." Like, because we did Phoenix first, we were very fucking uptight. We were still kind of uptight, and then we loosened it up when Tyler opened that up in Oakland, and it was,
absolutely.
It was us just being our natural selves and allowing people to see us for who we were.
Yeah, we were trying to be authentic.
Yeah, we weren't even trying to be authentic. We were just being ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. We weren't attempting to be anything. We were just doing what we were doing.
Like, we're gonna have a good fucking time tonight, because the other night was a fucking shit show. Like, one of the openers the night before that had kicked off stage, and we were just ourselves, and that was a magnet to bringing people to us.
I forgot about that kid.
To our merch table, that was a magnet to bringing people into investing in us. And we still, to this day, have people from Oakland and the Bay Area riding with us from that specific show.
Absolutely.
And, like, that's the building blocks of, again, I'm not a fucking household name to those people out there listening. I'm not.
Sure.
But that's a building block to me being able to do this in the capacity that I'm able to do this. Was that network?
Yeah, absolutely.
Us being our full fucking self.
Yeah, that means the next time you go to Oakland and open up for somebody, those fans will come to that show and be there for you at that show.
100%. And that brings me to the next topic as we dive into this. How do you feel about, like, spirituality and manifestations?
In what regard?
Like, speaking things to existence, like finding your way through experience, like putting yourself on the path just by saying yes.
Okay. Interesting topic. Yeah, I think that this kind of goes back into the believing in yourself thing. So you always have to believe in yourself first before anybody else is going to believe in you. Any way you look at it, they're very rarely do you get put in a position where other people are going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself, and you continue to be successful based off of that. Your success has to be driven based off of you believing in yourself first. 100%. So speaking things into an existence in that format, I think is important to be able to say, I am going to go accomplish this, and you do. As far as a spiritual impact on it, I think, I do believe in God, and I believe that God will always put you in the position that you're meant to be in at that given time. I don't think that God ever gives you more than you can handle, and I think that your ability to handle those situations is based off of your mental fortitude. So yeah, I think speaking things into an existence, I think is when we say in a manifestation purpose, I think it's more of, in my personal opinion, is you believe in yourself enough that um, God acknowledges that you believe in yourself enough to put you in that position to be able to move forward. That's my thought process on it, if that's what God wants.
In your and again, like with bringing guests on here, it's about putting the guests first and allowing them to elaborate in their space. And again, like I'll talk on it afterwards. But in your field, in your profession, is there specific points or like levels that you've acquired and achievements that you've acquired in your field and in your profession that you would say that you have manifested?
Hell yeah. There was a, gosh, I feel like it was not long after I started. There was this job in Brooklyn. I was down there for a hot minute. Pretty much, I didn't have any problem living in Brooklyn. I like Brooklyn. I like the scene. I like being around. I like being in the city. The guy that I was there with was from like the Rocky Mountain area, and being confined in a small area like that with feeling claustrophobic was very difficult for him. And he was my boss at that time frame. And he was like, I can't handle this. And as far as in a work aspect, because he wasn't able to do that, it affected our work like a lot, like to a significant portion where we weren't getting the things done that we needed to get done.
Okay.
And that was a lot based on his mental capacity to be able to handle that. And, no disrespect to him in any way, shape, or form. It just wasn't for him. But,
Sure.
So I was working underneath him, and I was really at a point in my career where I thought I was capable of doing his job. Not trying to take his job specifically, just trying to be in that position as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a position that was needed. So basically what happened was he got to a spot where he called back to our project manager and was like, listen, like I can't be here. I got to get out of here for a little bit.
Sure.
I need to be in a different space to be able to get back to the mental capacity I need to. And
I need to work on myself.
Yeah, absolutely. No disrespect to that at all. And that's what he needed. So he basically took a long weekend. He took a Thursday, Friday, Saturday off, went out to the mountains, and then came back in. And they called me after he had asked for that off, and they had approved it and said, hey, we're going to bring another guy in for you to work underneath. And I looked at them and basically told them, like, if you give me a shot right now, I promise you won't regret it. And they did. And I knocked it out of the fucking park.
Hell yeah.
I came back the next day with like as much shit as done that we'd done the entire past week, just killing that shit as much as I absolutely could. And 2 weeks later, I got a huge raise and a huge promotion. So yeah, I felt like my confidence in myself and my ability to kind of speak that into existence, because I was willing to speak up for myself in that time frame, is what manifested me into moving in that direction.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's I guess the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, full self-belief, delusional self-belief, even though others don't fully see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like other people might not have seen like, okay, well, yeah, Tyler's pretty new to this industry. Like he might not be ready for this, because a lot of people do the job that I was working in that time frame for a lot longer. I was like, listen, I can handle this.
Yeah, delusional
and
in the sense of other people not seeing it, but not delusional in the sense of you seeing it.
Yes, exactly. 100%. So yeah, I made it happen. I got a raise of like $7 an hour in the course of like a month, which was really friggin' awesome. And it really kind of catapulted my career just off of that, being able to say, if you give me a shot, I will make this work. That was really kind of what catapulted my career. Just that one decision of being able to speak up.
I mean, yeah, $7 an hour is $56 a day in an 8-hour day. $200.
Yeah, it's
over $100 every 2 days.
It was a huge amount of money, for sure.
Like the cool thing with like that situation was like it wasn't like a like you can be spiritual and still also not conform, but like be included in whatever religion that you believe in.
Absolutely.
Like that type of spirituality was like something different. Like you can have God and the universe coincide at the same time.
For sure.
Like you can have God and the law of attraction exist at the same time. Like the universe, like the law of attraction and the universe kind of coincide with the same fucking thing. And it's just like, and I didn't realize it for the longest fucking time until I started like paying attention to it. And it's the law of attraction being what you put out literally does come back to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not something that I was used to. It was not something that I was like accustomed to. Like I didn't, not that I didn't believe it, I had never seen it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was something very, very, very different, in a very different perspective switch. I think it had in all of us because we were all very intertwined in that underground scene at the time.
For sure.
Like every underground release that came out, we were tuned into. Every station that came out, we were in tune to. So like when that came out, we were just like, oh shit, this is a legit shift.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it like really brought us into unlocking our full capabilities as human beings.
Yeah, exactly. It was that mind shift into this for me at least, it was this mind shift into this is the way things are, into there's always an area of shaded gray, and changing and understanding how that people not just, I guess, not just an area of shaded gray, but putting myself in other people's shoes and understanding where they come from as well.
Yeah, and for like, yeah, and it's, for me it was like similar. It was like this it was this space of, when I first started, it was like, I want to be famous to prove everybody fucking wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but like after that, it was like, I want to impact. I didn't care. I didn't care what that level of celebrity was. And to this day, I don't care what that level of celebrity is. I want to make a living where I'm making comfortable money, doing what I love, and impacting people. I don't care if that means I have 40,000 people at my shows or 1,000 people at my shows. You know, like I want impact. I want to connect. I want that realness. And
I want to change people's lives.
I don't think that existed before that period of time for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. It was we were very much before that on that
we were clout chasing.
Fuck you, we're gonna make it.
Yeah,
exactly. We that's the best way I can describe it. We were clout chasing.
We were fuckboys at that point in time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was a complete fuckboy at that point in my life. Yeah, this shit happens.
Do you remember that one time that we started in one place, ended up going to another place, and then your car got sideswiped the next morning?
Was that the same morning that I picked you up from the hospital?
Oh fuck yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that night. That was a great night.
I remember
shit.
We
started in one city. Yeah, we started in one city. We got there. We're like, the city's whack. So we decided to go to another city. We're like, all right, well, fuck this. We're going to another city that we know is lit. So we moved on, and we got there, and we I very specifically remember getting a voicemail on my phone the next morning.
Still to this day, do not know who the fuck that was.
No clue, right? Basically a random person that had Ryan's phone that was like, hey, this is so-and-so. We're here with Ryan. He's very intoxicated. He doesn't know where he needs to go. Also, keep in mind that at all times during this night, the hotel that we stayed at was within sight distance from the bar.
It was across the fucking street.
It was across the street, like within sight distance of the bar. And for some reason, Ryan couldn't make it back. So, pretty much we wake up the next morning, we go downstairs, we have breakfast. I'm like, what's going on? I get the voicemail. I call Ryan's phone, and Ryan said, I'm like, Ryan, where are you? He's like, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, what hospital are you in? Ryan says, Tyler, why am I here? I said, Ryan, what hospital are you in? I'll come get you. He says, why am I here? Ryan, what hospital are you in? Tyler, why am I here? I said, you just tell me where you are and I'll come get you, bud. Sure as shit, I go get Ryan and we go drive through a McDonald's drive through and I'm like, we need
9 waters.
8 waters. Eight. We needed 2 for each one of us. There were 4 of us in the car.
Yeah, you're right. I need 8.
We need 8 waters. So they fill us up 8 tap waters and give us these big ass waters. So I still gotta go bring. Were you with me that day?
Oh yeah, I went with you.
My car got outside. Yeah, you. Well, we're gonna name drop the cities. Okay.
Yeah,
so yeah, we go back to the first city that we started in, which was Ithaca, New York. Whack ass fucking town as far as the bar scene. And we go there. I'm dropping off another buddy who's got to get to work that morning because he thought he was going to be in Ithaca, but we changed cities. So I was like, all right, I got to bring him back. So I'm bringing him back. And as I'm bringing him back, this car like literally swipes into me out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh shit.
Because of a bus.
Yeah, because of a bus pulled out in front of that dude. So he had to get over without getting able to be crushed. So we pull over and I'm like, still pretty hungover, just chugging water. Questionable to be driving at that point. And this cop pulls up and he's like telling us everything. And I'm like, yeah, I got the hangover hat on. It was a great time. I had this hat back in the day that I only wore when I had hangovers. But yeah, we worked it out and I didn't even have to have taken my car to a body shop. I literally just pulled in the fender of my car and popped it out myself. It wasn't no big deal, but these people were like really concerned that this was going to be a big deal. They're talking about how they're going to sue the city and shit. And the cop is like, well, honestly, this is like $1,200 worth of damage. I don't think you're going to sue the city over it. So he's like, okay, that's fair. But yeah, that was.
Meanwhile, I fucking still got a fucking band-aid on my fucking IV arm in the passenger.
Just picked up Brian from the hospital. Yeah, that was a hell of a 24-hour period, man.
That was a fucking time.
That was a time, bro.
I think we should venture down memory lane for the pod as we're introducing Tyler to the podcast. So we should probably get close to wrapping it up. But at this point, we order another round of shots. So cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers. And then we also pour another round of drinks because it's what we do.
Absolutely. This is America. Oh.
So for the brunch listeners, this is the perfect point for us to inform you, as we have already done, that Tyler will be joining us on tour in the future, when it makes sense and when it fits. So he will be one of the people that y'all will meet in the shows and in the after parties, and just one of the people that you full on interact with. He's gonna make y'all feel like family because Bronson fam is a family, So he's gonna be one of those people that welcome y'all in and get you into the right mindset for the vibe. But also he's going to be joining us on the pod and giving you insight into the real life of what happens here. And just like, I feel like it gets misconstrued with social media that people on social media aren't humans and they're robots or they're products. And I think it's important to have actual homies and actual accounts of the person to let you guys see that whoever the fuck it is that you're listening to or looking to is fucking human. We all do dumb shit. We all do fun shit. We all fucking just are living this shit one day at a time.
Hell yeah.
And especially based on that last story y'all see. I fucking woke up in a hospital one time. I think a lot of people have had that similar story, and I would really love for Tyler to go into detail about the one time that it happened to him.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. So a little background story to this. For my job, back in the day, I was required to travel a lot. So I was in a foreign town. The town was Athens, Ohio, home of Ohio University. Great party town, fantastic party town. They have an awesome Halloween they have a really awesome Halloween event that they have every year. It's called Halloween, and man, that town really knows how to rage. So one year while I was there working, and I was just happened to be adjacent to that town, so I went out to the bars with some friends. Yeah, absolutely. And basically I was drinking all day, and we had some other friends show up later that evening that weren't able to make it with us during the day, so they wanted to catch up. So they wanted to take shots. And this is after I've been drinking all day, and I was like, yeah, this is a great idea. It was not a great idea.
It was fine.
I remember being at one of the bars, and then I briefly remember one of my friends walking me into a bathroom to puke, and I was puking, and I'm not a puker. Like I'm not a person that pukes ever. Just as a heads up. The next thing I remember, AKA buy him shots on tour. The next thing I remember after that is waking up in a hospital bed. It's like, oh shit.
Why am I here?
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm like, what the hell happened here? This is bullshit. So I have this tube coming out of my dick, and I'm just like, this is bullshit. You know, they gave me a catheter. I have a very close family member who works in the health industry. So I called her and was like, hey, I got this tube coming out of my dick. What do I do? And she could obviously tell that I was still drunk the next morning. She was like, I need to talk to your doctor. And this person is a physician's assistant. So I hold my phone up in the air and I said, hey, my PA is on the phone. Somebody talk to her. And I couldn't get anybody's attention before this. I tried to get everybody's attention before this, no one listening. But as soon as I did that, people came running, like absolutely running. And basically the doctor talks to her, and he hands me the phone back. I'm like, so what's going on? And she says, you're an idiot. And I said, I already know this. You don't have to tell me twice. I already know this is going on. And she's like, just stay there, sober up, and call a ride. And I was like, okay. So I end up calling a very close friend of mine, and I think a decently close friend of Ryan's now at this point. Guy that was in my wedding party. His name is Bobby.
Okay. Really good. Yep.
And he
what a guy.
He comes and, yeah, great guy. He comes and picks me up, and yeah, I was in a lot of trouble. So I had a girlfriend at that time that I was staying with in that town.
I did not know this part.
Yeah, she was like, freaking out about the fact that she didn't know where that I was the whole night before, and all my friends, after I apparently just sprinted out away from them at one point during the night. And so I basically get out of her being upset with me by telling her that I love her for the first time, to get out of her being upset with me. Sorry, Nicole. Yeah, that was a little messed up on my part. So this town has this Twitter account called the OU Scanner, and basically we were able to figure out. I don't remember any of this still, but basically after going through the scanner and figuring out what time based on the ambulance report that I was picked up, and by the time the OU scanner happened, that I was found unresponsive, passed out behind a dumpster in a back alley. Oh, that's a cringeworthy moment right there. And so the what I think is one of my favorite parts of the story is I stayed in that town after that, and the next weekend was the Halloween weekend. So I went out, and this town is very well prepared for what's going on. So they
People like
literally
you.
have they literally have ambulances lined up ready to go, and I was walking past the ambulances, and I didn't know who it was, so I just kind of said it to everybody. Whoever pulled me, thank you, I appreciate it. And as I'm walking away, a guy shouts behind me. It says, "Black Yankees hat." And I damn sure was wearing a black Yankees hat that night. And I turned around and I was like, "Yes, thank you so much for pulling me out. I appreciate that. Thanks for getting me to the hospital." He was like, "Man, it was really difficult to get you here."
You a big motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm not this small dude at the time. I was 6'6", 300 pounds. Just having some everyday EMT pull up and pull this dude in the ambulance just ain't some easy shit to do. But I thanked him very much. I appreciated it. He laughed it off with me, and yeah, it was a good time. But yeah, the hospital bill after paying for that ambulance ride really sucked.
Oh, I'm sure. Shout out my insurance for covering mine.
Oh, lucky bastard. But yeah, yeah, shit. I was young, dumb. I think I was 21 years old at the time. Yeah, shit, man. We all make mistakes. We're all kids.
Oh, 100%.
You gotta live life, man. That's really what it comes down to. I don't regret that night for any way, shape, and form. Do I wish I had that $4,000 back? Yeah, absolutely. But as far as that experience, dude, not a lot of people get to tell that story. I'm pretty happy about it. Oh,
yeah, and bringing this full circle, if you and I had been pre-exposed to alcohol at a young age, do you think either of us would have ended up in that situation?
I've thought about this a lot.
I don't think I would
probably
have.
not. Yeah, my thought is I grew up in a very Judeo-Christian value household.
Yeah.
Where drinking wasn't just wrong; it was a sin. So like it was like this is not something that you do as a Christian. Yeah. As a Christian man, this is not something that you do. So like even on I remember going for my permit test to get my permit in New York, there were questions about alcohol. I didn't bother to study any of them because all I knew was you don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, they wanted to talk about alcohol percentages, how much you've had. So what does your blood toxicity look like? I didn't study. I was like, don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, I think I passed my permit test by one question because I missed all of those questions.
Sure.
Which was very specific to, New York for trying to get your permit.
Sure.
But yeah, so when I got to a place where I was exposed to the real world for the first time, which is where I went to college, I thought it was a very normal thing to just drink a bottle of liquor a night, and just black out. That's what I thought was normal.
Literally. And I think if I was exposed to it, I don't think I would have had the same relationship with alcohol that I have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where
you're just binge drinking your whole life. Or not your whole life, but the whole time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna name names, but there's people very, very close to me who were exposed to alcohol earlier, and they were done drinking alcohol, or at least drinking it in the way that I still drink it at a very young age.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And I really do think that if I was exposed to that at an earlier age, that I would not, into my early 20s, and now even into my late 20s, have the same relationship with alcohol.
Yeah, just exploring and learning how to be somebody that is a social drinker
Yeah. Now,
in
would I
an
still drink?
environment where you've never
Absolutely.
drank before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd probably still have not, have any issues having a beer with dinner and drinking whiskey on the weekends and whatever, or even
Whiskey
on
in the middle
Sunday
of the
night
fucking week.
before work,
Yeah.
Sunday night before work and on brunch. That's probably something that still wouldn't change for me, but I think definitely it would have affected how I handled alcohol in an
The
earlier age in my
relationship
20s for
with it
sure.
probably would have
Yeah,
changed.
yeah,
Like I
it
do.
definitely would have been helpful to one understand my limits and understand how to drink responsibly before I put myself in a social situation that I
Yeah.
could really make a big problem.
On that note, it's a Thursday night, so I fucking hope Tom Brady loses. This has been a great episode of the Sundaze Brunch. Y'all will hear this on Sunday. Again, this one was recorded on a Thursday. This is the one where we recorded it early. Again, fuck Tom Brady. I hope he loses. I'm gonna drink to that. Ty, before we fully wrap, we're gonna take the shot. Pour a drink in that because that shit looks empty.
Okay, I was trying to get away with it. All right, shit.
Yeah, you ain't gonna catch me slipping.
Fair enough.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
A1s, and just doing the damn thing.
Yes, sir. Doing it no matter what. You have a good one.
Okay, this has been an incredible experience with the Day One A1, Tyler, aka DJ T-Rex, aka fucking Big Homie, aka a million other fucking mares.
Thank you for having me on, man. I'm really glad to be here. Really glad to do this. Can't wait to do it again.
100%. He will be back on board. He will be here multiple other times. We don't worry. Bobby will be back next week. Next week we have the man, the myth, the legend, Cat Olive, Kato from CLM Presents, and we have a really great onset of future guests coming onto the pod in the future that we cannot wait to share with you guys. It's going to be a wild ride. Artists, I highly encourage that you tune into next week's episode with Kato. It's a don't miss if you're an artist. It tells you the do's and the do nots of the industry. Definitely don't miss that episode. And if you do, that's on you. Personally, it's on you. We keep it blunt here on the Sundaze Brunch. Next week, we keep saying that we're going to bring breakfast, but we keep not bringing breakfast because something happens. So if you don't bring breakfast, it's cool. But bring a drink, bring a beverage. We've had the beer mimosas, we've had the mimosas, we've had the breakfast shots, we've had all of the above. This is episode 6 of the Sundaze Brunch. Tune in next week. We appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good rest of your week.